Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me. Hi. Can you hear me? Do I sound okay? Do I look okay? Have I screwed everything up and broken it as usual? No? Good. Yes, I can hear perfect. I see somebody has like put the pressure on me already that they're missing My Name is Earl for this, and I don't know that I can compete with that. So I mean, Jason Lee, that's a tough act to compete with, man. I don't know that I'm that funny. I'm not that funny. So ZZ Top Beard is awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Christopher. Needs a little trim. We're getting a little we're at trim stage again, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So Kenneth, I have no idea why my camera is upside down for you. I hope it's not for anybody else. You might want to maybe refresh the stream. That might help. Love the opera poster. Thank you. Funny thing, like all these posters, I have like procured during my many travels through the movie theater industry. So Opera and the Beyond actually came from the UC Berkeley theater, which was up by the University of Berkeley when I lived in Oakland, and they were clearing out when they were shutting that place down. Refresh, put you sideways. Well, Kenneth, if you keep doing it, you'll get me eventually. Like three rights will eventually get you back around. So, I lived in Oakland, and they closed that theater, which I loved, which I was a regular at, and when they were closing it out, they cleared out all their posters, and I was fortunate enough to snag the Beyond and Opera there. Army of Darkness actually came from the theater I worked at when it came out in 1993, and Hellraiser was one I got from a comic book shop way back in the day. So, like, you're in IMAX now. I'm glad we solved that, Kenneth. Allison, thank you. I'm trying to look my best. Not any more than is it possible to comb the beard over to my scalp? Let's see. Not quite. We're getting there though. Look at all this white hair under there. Jesus. Let's not do that again. So yeah. Do I shampoo it? Yes, we do shampoo the beard. Yeah, it helps. I don't like to condition it though. If you condition it, it gets like kind of crazy and fly away and all kind of weird. So yeah, Cash. That's the whole point of working at a movie theater or a video store, is just rating the posters. That was my whole reason. Like, I had a whole little side business. Like the standees would come in and they used to do the big banners, the vinyl banners, and we would fight over those because you could take them and sell them for a decent chunk of change to collectors. But a lot of them just ended up in my personal collection. So yeah. But how is everyone tonight? I'm glad you all turned out Saturday night. I know you probably got other more exciting things to do than hang out with me, but I'm grateful you chose to spend it with me. We'll have a good time. Paris, I have not tried Dead Island 2 yet. It's on the list though. I'm hoping that me and my cohort, even if it sucks, can make it Game of the Year again like we did the first game. So that's a long, deep cut story. Geek, have you watched Russian horror movies? Yeah, a couple. Like not as many as I should have. Like, I've seen the really messed up stuff. What's the elephant one? I forget what it's called. But I've seen that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Russian. Rough one. Best poster. I don't know. As I said in like one of the previous streams, Garvis Reed, one of our viewers, sent me a Demons one sheet that's just amazing. And I have not put it up because I don't want to put it on the wall. Like, these are just kind of beat up from being stuck on the wall type thing. I never framed them because framing them made it harder to light them. There was just four more things for shit to reflect off of. And just not a good time. So these ones have been kind of like, they're still in good shape, but they're not in pristine shape. And so I do not want to put the Demons poster up there, but I really love that one. So, Brandon, I have framed stuff, and we bought like frames to put these in. The goal of this house was always to frame them, and I just have never gotten around to it. So, but I used to have them all framed, and then like we moved, and I took them out of the frames because it was easier to move them not in frames, and I've never put them back in. So, I have a Phenomena poster from Japan actually. That one's very cool, and actually, it might be Italian. I'll have to look. It's worth a few bucks, and that one is definitely not going on the wall like that because it's pretty rare. Expensive to frame them, yes. Even the cheap frames are expensive. So, hey, Filthy McNasty, how are you? So yeah, thank you all for coming. I don't have anything super exciting planned for tonight. I just thought I like to try to do one of these once a month to hang out, and it was the end of the month, so I'm like, oh, I should go live and talk some shit about YouTube and the state of the world or whatever. But so if you're here to hear me complain, you're in the right place. Funnily enough, speaking of YouTube, right before this stream went live, Severin was talking about how their channel has gotten nuked by YouTube for community guidelines violations, even though they've never had a community guidelines strike or even a warning. And I can sort of relate to that. as you may know, I have a line of merch now, and one of the deals with the merch thing is oh, you're supposed to be able to integrate it with your channel, and for some reason I can't integrate it into my channel. And so we were like, why, YouTube? Why can I not integrate this into my channel? And they're like, well, we don't know. And then they came back and they're like, oh, well, you have community guidelines violations, so we've deemed you not worthy of having this. And the irony of that is I've never had a community guidelines violation. I've never had a strike. I've never had a warning. I've never had anything. And they can't tell me what it is in the same way that they can't tell Severin what they've done either. So I think Severin is going to get their channel back, though. There's been a lot of outrage about it. I hope when they come for me someday that there's as much outrage, harassing YouTube on Twitter to why have you done this to save me? But if not, I'm glad we'll at least keep Severin. So Thomas, thank you for the $5. Rawhead Rex. Dude, I would love to do Rawhead Rex, but they were going through and they were just flat out striking old reviews of Rawhead Rex like last year. I know Wolfula got a strike over it. A couple other people had problems with it. So I have just stayed away from Rawhead Rex because I don't I have enough copyright. We're fighting 3 copyright fights as we speak. So I can't take on more. There's only so many I can handle in a week. Yeah, but I would love to do it. Maybe we'll try it someday, but I don't know. So let's see what else we got up here that I missed because I'm already talking. I got a 30-day ban from Facebook because I made fun of the metric system. So social media is so damn weird, man. God, the things that fly that you see get reported that are oh no, this is fine, and you go really, that's fine, and then oh yeah, I made fun of the metric system, so that's bullying, and I'm banned for I got 30-day timeout. I don't. Social media is the worst invention in the history of mankind. You will never convince me differently. It's been more awful for people getting along and being nice to each other and just civilization, I think. It's just unreal. So yeah, that Black Emmanuel box set. You know what? Here's a great story, Brandon, about that box set. So I saw it drop, right? And I was all excited, but in my typical Mike Bracken fashion, I couldn't help but go onto Twitter and gloat about this $300 box set of Laura Gemser, Joe D'Amato, Emmanuel movies, and how I was going to buy the $300 box because it came with a board game and all this stuff. And while I was doing that, it sold out. So I'm going to have to buy. I'm buying the set. I'm just not getting the $300 set, which had all the crazy extra stuff in it. I'm just getting I think it's still $195 with just the movies and the book and all that. Yeah, I was so dude, Paris, I do this all the time and I'm such an idiot. I'm a guy who wants something and I will but I'll always wait till the last minute to buy it, and then I either forget and the sale ends, or I'm busy talking about it and promoting it, and by the time I get around to buying it, it's gone. So yeah, I'm not a smart man. I never learn. But yeah, I didn't. So Brandon, the thing for me was I didn't care about the patches or the pins or the pen or the bag, but the idea of a board game was I have to see what this is. And so I was willing to plunk down $300. It's for the channel. It's a write-off. It's for my taxes. So I was ready to do that just so I could say like, oh, this is what an Emmanuel board game looks like. But yeah. Thanks, Josh. I'm trying to look good. It's funny because I was talking before we went live. I'm like, I don't know if I should do this tonight because I've been kind of cantankerous and cranky, for the last couple weeks more than usual because I've been on a cut. I've been trying to get down to like 220 because I'd like to compete powerlifting later this year, and I wanted to compete at 220, not 260, and my doctor was getting on me about being 260, and it's just been like such a nightmare. Like I've never had as hard a time losing weight as I have this time for some reason. Like I'm ready to hire a friggin' nutrition coach at this point because I'm just tired of dealing with it. I'm like, just tell me what to eat. So yeah, but it like being low, like I'm kind of low carb. We're kind of carb cycling through this, and low carbs makes me hangry, and I have been hangry for the last few weeks, like even more hangry than normal. But yeah, I've lost like 30 pounds since like late last year. So, but we've still got another, I don't know, 20 to go, I think. It is hard as you get older. Yeah. And we're also at that really awful point. So like when you cut as a power lifter, the goal is to lose weight, but not to lose a lot of strength. And when you start losing a lot of weight, the strength starts to go, like the top end lifts. And I'm usually good for about 20 pounds where my lifts don't go down a whole lot. And, but like 3 weeks ago, I popped a hamstring deadlifting, and that set me back. And then I crossed that 20 pounds lost into that 30 pounds lost mark. And it's basically, like my lifts are like struggling right now. Like I pulled like 445 for 3, multiple sets of 3 a couple weeks ago. And yesterday I was supposed to pull like 455 for singles, and I got to like 435, and I was like, nope, I'm done. So no, Anthropophagus, hell yeah, guy didn't die. Giovanni Lombardo Radice died. Different guy. Cool, equally cool, maybe even more cool. But yeah. I gained nearly 100, still can't lose it all. Yeah, so this is the dumb thing, Marco, is I have done this multiple times. I have, before I started powerlifting, I was just fat. And Agnetha, hi, how you doing? Yeah, it is. I think it is. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's a maybe. I don't know if I can make it funny. Like sometimes that one always strikes me as one that would be hard to make funny. But yeah, I totally lost my train of thought when I saw that too. But yeah, anyway, so I lost 100 once. That's what it was. I had lost 100 once. Hi, Stella, how you doing? I lost 100 once, and then gained like some back, and then lost like 70, and then I got down. I thought I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I thought I wanted to be really, really lean, and I got down to like 178, and I looked like I was dying, like I was wasting away. So and then I took up powerlifting, and it's like now I don't want to be any lower than like 215. So yeah, it's hard at 50 cash. It really is. Like it's a totally different game now. Like I used to just go like, well, I'll just stop drinking soda and I won't eat French fries with my Big Macs and I'll lose 50 pounds. And no, not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust. I think Cannibal Holocaust was pretty funny. The hardest one to make funny, the one that I look back and I'm like constantly amazed that I made it funny at all, and I don't really know how funny it is Martyrs. Like I don't know how, like what the fuck was I thinking, trying to make Martyrs funny. But I mean, it sort of worked. But man, that was a hard one. Wayne, thank you for liking that review, which brings up an interesting point. If you guys have not watched the Pledge Night video, please do, because that video is tanking. Nobody watched that video for Pledge Night, and I think it's funny. And yeah, so Honest Dave, I love horror novels. Funnily enough, we were just talking a couple weeks ago. So like I have written a horror novel that's not yet published. But I love horror novels. Like I before I became a film critic, I spent a lot of time writing stuff about, horror novels, like reviews and things like that. And we've actually talked about like, oh, I should do like a horror novel podcast to talk about books, because they're equally interesting. Like there's some really cool, like there's like some books that are as cool as me. Like, if you get into Richard Lehman, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bump that. Get into Richard Lehman and shit. Like you get into some really gory stuff, the splatterpunks, all that. But yeah, I'd like to do a show about that. I just don't have time. Yeah, Martyrs is an amazing film, but it's not a feel-good movie, and that's why I've never done Irreversible, because I went, oh my god, Martyrs about killed me. I don't think I could do Irreversible. So, what did I miss up here? Yeah, we need to raise fund to pitch for your beer movie called Manticles. I am all for that. If we want to make that, let's do it. Yeah. So yeah, I do. It is raining here. That's another point. If we lose this at some point tonight, it's because I'm having terrible thunderstorms the last couple days, and it's been playing havoc with my power. Amy, glad you enjoy the merch and leggings. So yeah, I don't think Teespring offers leggings, but we may be getting another provider for things to add more stuff to the merch mix. That's my goal. Paperbacks from Hell is a very cool book. Yes. Yeah, man. Damn fear. Sorry, I missed your super chat there. The good thing is Susan is gone. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like, I haven't got a feel for the new guy yet. Susan, yeah, I will not shed any tears over Susan not being the head of YouTube anymore. Because she was not like a creator's best friend. So yeah, but I don't know the new guy. I don't know much about him, but I hope he's an improvement, for sure. So Matt Florence says, just to get it out of the way now, football practice is a reference to MST3K. Thank you. That is, so there are two questions that are very commonly asked on this show, and it's who is the guy that says hell yeah, which I explain at least 6 times a week, and where does football practice come from, which I probably explain at least 5 times a week. So I'm glad we got that out there. I'm happy to keep explaining them. I'm happy people like them. I've noticed that, like, as the show goes on, I keep putting more and more hell yeahs into videos, and I'm like, God, I'm gonna run this thing into the ground, but like people just never get tired of it. So I'm like, well, I guess if there's like 6 places to put them in, we'll just do that. So Disinterested Handjob. I own both of those anthologies. Yeah, both the Paul Salmon books. Funnily, like I know a lot of those authors back from when I was writing fiction. Like Skip Inspector, and like I've told the story that I went to World Horror Con in like 2000 in Denver, and I went to a party, and that evening I spent like 2 hours grilling Pete Atkins, who's a screenwriter who's written like Wishmaster and like Hellraiser 3 and stuff like that. And then me and a buddy had Craig Spector of Skip Inspector, like Splatterpunk Gods. Like we had him like to ourselves for like 3 hours, just asking him like, why did Elm Street 5 go so wrong? And like all these questions about that. And he was just like a super cool guy, and he's still a super cool guy. I'm like Facebook friends with him, and I'm like, dude, you probably don't even remember. And he's like, yeah, I don't remember, but but those anthologies are good. Yeah, I was a big Splatterpunk. David Scow, Skip Inspector, Garton, Lehman, Barker, Lansdale. Like there are a lot of those guys that kind of were straight up splatterpunks or right on the periphery. Poppy Bright. Yeah, I've read all that stuff, man. I'm like very well read. I was a literature major on top of like film studies. So, and I read a lot of horror fiction, much to my professor's chagrin. Thomas, 53 and 6'1", live for power. Yep. I have a buddy who's like a couple years younger than me, who's a natural physique competitor, and he must be like 47 or 48, and I'm like, he's always like, you should just cut and be a physique competitor, and I'm like, dude, I'd feel so small. I can't. My brain can't handle being like 185 pounds. I did it and it was no fun. So. Paul, thanks for making decompressing after a hard day easier, sir. In healthcare, and discovered you like 5 months into pandemic. Help me stay sane. Well, I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that. The channel really took off during the pandemic. Like, go figure, right? When everybody was stuck in their house and had to watch YouTube, and they're like, well, I guess I can watch this idiot because I watched all the good stuff, right? But yeah, like during the pandemic, I really tried to keep like the show running because it was just me by myself then, and I was trying to find work. Like I worked in marketing, and I had like 2 great job offers, and then the pandemic hit, and this was literally like 2 weeks before lockdown started, and and both those job offers were then rescinded, and you know, so I was like, oh God, I have this YouTube channel and I don't have a job. And it's like, but I'm like, but people need stuff to watch and I'm an idiot, but I'll just keep making stuff because like maybe this will help people like forget about all this stuff going on in the world. So I'm glad it worked for you. Mr. Galactus. Hey, Mike, without starting a big chat room fight here, what is a classic horror movie everyone loves that you hate? Well, I would say Halloween 3, but we all know that's not a classic horror movie. So it's not a live stream until I talk about hating Halloween 3. That's a good question. I don't know. Like off the top of my head, I'm not classic. I really like a lot of the classics. Now, the one I've said before, like the one that I like, that I appreciate it because it's a great film and it's definitely a classic, but it's not something I like to actually watch like more than once every like 15 years, is The Exorcist. I love William Friedkin. I think The Exorcist is an amazingly made horror film. I just don't enjoy watching it most of the time. So like I like to revisit it literally about once every 15 years. So I guess that's my controversial answer. And that's not just but that's not a hate. That's just like I appreciate the movie for what it is, but I don't need to see it very often. Whereas, you know, like if you put Reanimator on or Hellraiser or Jaws or Halloween, I'll watch those every time and like never get tired of them. But The Exorcist is a little more of an acquired taste for me, I guess. I think I probably would, you know, like if you sat me down and you said you have to pick one or the other, I would watch Exorcist 3 more often than I would the original Exorcist. That's because I like George C. Scott. Yeah, all right. Will we ever get some more Olaf Ittenbach? Brandon, yeah, no. I don't know. Let's leave it at that. I don't know. I would love to do all of Olaf's films. That was the goal. When I did Premutos, that was the start. That was like, we were going to go from there to Black Past to, Dark Divorce and all through his filmography, because it's just so ridiculous, right? And then they age gated me on it and they gave me a bunch of shit over it, even though we like tried to cut it to make it like, that was in the early days when we did Premutos, and I absolutely did shit in that video that I should not have. I will admit that. Like, we showed gore, but I just assumed we were showing gore that was going to make it demonetized, right? That it would be fine, and I didn't try to monetize that video when we made it, because I'm like, this has got gore in it. They're not going to let me monetize it. Let's just put it up and we'll leave it demonetized, but people can still see it. And instead they came back and they slapped me with an age gate. So there's no way I can do like Black Past or Burning Moon. And I'm like, I literally was just talking about this like 2 weeks ago about those two movies, like about how great they would be to do, because at the end they're just balls out gore. It's like 20 minutes of gore. That scene with the demon, the hell stuff, and it's great low budget gore. And it's the same thing with Marian Dora. Like, I wanted to do the rest of his films after I did Cannibal, and they didn't age gate Cannibal, but they did give me a lot of crap over that one too. So, yeah, I don't know. I would do Ittenbach if I could get someone to sponsor those videos. Like, if I could get a sponsor who said, look, we're going to sponsor this, we're going to pay enough that you not making ad revenue and all that doesn't matter, so you're not losing money making the video, and we don't care if it gets age gated, because we'll be fine with, you know, if we get fewer views because YouTube won't promote it. But if somebody were to step up and say, this is why I wanted the Adam and Eve thing to be more of a thing for us, because I thought they would be more open to sponsoring stuff that was a little more risque for YouTube, and that just never came to really pan out. But yeah, like if I could get someone to like eat the cost of making those videos, so I didn't make them and just lose money on them right out of the gate, I would consider it. But in the current climate, there's no way they will let me. They'll age gate me and like community strike me and all this crap, which I'd rather not deal with. Patrick, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Missed the 70s PG rated films like Grizzly, where a kid could have a bloody arm ripped off. Can't do that now. Yes, absolutely correct. You can't do that now. I'm still amazed that they ripped that kid's arm off in Grizzly, and that they let the alligator eat the kid in Alligator. That is the most like amazing thing to me. Like that would never happen today, either of those things. So that if they did is just like incredible. So Prince of Darkness, yes. Funnily enough, I almost scripted that last week. I pulled it off the shelf and I'm like, oh God, we've never done any Carpenter. So and for a long time we didn't do like the mainstream stuff because I get claimed on it and I have to fight it out. And I just like the fighting it out stresses me out because it ties up videos for a long time and it's a lot of back and forth and I have to keep making videos. But with those ones, I'm kind of like now I'm just like, fuck it, let's just do it. I'll just fight them on it. so I think we're gonna do that. I think we are gonna do Prince of Darkness. I also I really think we're gonna do. I'm not 100%, but I think we're gonna do Body Bags because that's just a kooky little Carpenter anthology. He's in it. It's got some funny stories in it. And I've never done an anthology film, and we were talking like I should try one, and I think that's probably the easiest one to do. So we may do that one. So Nader, thank you. Enjoy watching your content. Just here to say hi and thank you. Well, hi and thank you. I appreciate that. I'm delighted that people like my nonsense. Like you never know, like when you start a YouTube channel, like people might hate you, dude. So I'm glad that's not the case. Mike, have you ever seen the Ninth Configuration? Yes, I bought I got one of those limited edition Blu-rays. Scream Factory dropped last year. Love that movie. That is my favorite William Peter Blatty production for sure. Great flick. I wanted to cover that one on the show, but I haven't decided if I can actually make it work. Burial Ground brought me to you. I saw it back in the theaters in mid-'80s and found your video on it and have been with you ever since. Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. It's so funny because like that's one of those ones that like now I look at it, I'm like, oh God, I was so fucking bad back then. Like it's terrible. And I'm like, I wish I could redo this and do it better. All those old videos, I have a hard time watching any of my videos, but like anything like the early days stuff, I can't go back. I get distressed watching it because I'm like, oh, you suck so bad, dude. You're so terrible at this. How did you ever grow a channel? Because you're so terrible. And that one is one I'm like, man, that movie's so good. And that video is funny for the most part, I think. But like if I did that now, it would be way funnier. And but like when I go back and redo them, people don't watch them because I think it confuses people. They think they've already seen it. So I probably will never redo it, but I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad that's where you found me, and I'm extra glad that was a long time ago. That was like very early days, so you stuck around that long. You deserve a medal. You've heard a lot of puns. Well, thank you, Goat. I try to be an awesome guy. I try. I'd listen to that podcast if you did one. Yeah. So, so that's it. I'm hard at work on, B-Movie Babylon right now is the podcast we're going to do. That one is almost ready. I had it ready, and then of course, we had to get art for it, and I did that, and then the art wasn't right, so we had to get more art, and now we're just working on the little intro stinger music for it, and once that's done, I will start recording. Bleh, easy to say for me. I'll start recording them, and you guys will start to be able to check them out. I think that shows are going to be really cool because, like I said, it's B movies, but it's not just horror movies. So it was because I really just want to talk about movies like Stone Cold and Hard Target and crazy Asian action movies on top of crazy foreign horror stuff. That show will be a little different because it's not, like I'm not going to do it like super scripted like Sick Flick. So it's going to be more like just me talking about these movies. And hopefully if you like this, hear me blab forever, you'll like the podcast because it's probably going to be like that. So, but yeah, but the horror book show, I don't know. It could happen. We'll see. I have this bad habit of taking on more projects than I can do. because I'm like one man, which is why Deep Cuts is not here yet. We have 4 episodes of that show done. I'm going to tell you because usually I'm pretty secretive about what we have done or what I'm doing, but I just decided today we're just going to talk about the stuff we have coming up because you guys show up for this and I'll give you the inside skinny, right? Deep Cuts, there are 4 episodes that are completely done. I like them a lot. I think they're very good. They're like video essays, so they're not like sick flicks in the sense that they're not just joke. They're more like deeper dives into certain movies. And the 4 episodes that are done, we have one on why Stephen King hates Kubrick's version of The Shining so much and whether he's right to hate it or not. We have one about how eerily prescient Videodrome was in terms of predicting internet culture and the modern state of the world. We have one about Roddy Piper's lost horror film, St. John Smith, which got very far into production to the point where they had press screenings and all this and then never got finished and never got released, but there's little bits and pieces of it floating around out there, so it's kind of like a Roddy Piper's lost horror movie. And oh god, what's the 4th one? The what happened to the missing footage from Event Horizon, the missing 20-some minutes of Event Horizon, and will we ever see it? So yeah, those are all the deep cuts. I think it's like a really strong lineup. We have a couple more that are scripted that are not filmed. There's one about what went wrong with Del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness adaptation, which is a very interesting story. And we have one on Last House on Dead End Street. So yeah, they're just very hard to edit and they are very time consuming to edit because they require a lot more editing than Sick Flicks does. And Jay is overworked. so yeah, so that's what's going on with those. But yes, B-Movie Babylon will happen very soon. I'm really thinking about launching like Deep Cuts. I wanted that to be a weekly show, and I don't know until we figure out the editing situation if that's what it's going to be or not. So the idea is that maybe we'll do Deep Cuts as a monthly show, one a month of those for now, just to see how they do before I commit a bunch of money to more editing and things of that nature to make them happen with more regularity. But I think the 4 that are out that are done are really good, and I think you guys will like them. So I hope you get to see them soon. All right. Basil L, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Mike. Do you know Cruising with Al Pacino? Yes, I do, of course. That's a wild one. That's a De Palma. So yeah, that's a classic. One I don't know if we could get that on Sick Flicks or not. I've thought about it though. So Freakin' Film, To Live and Die in LA is a good one. Yes. And greetings from Southern Germany. Well, greetings from Florida where it's raining. Give me 1 second. My mouse is dying. It's sort of important to the show. Plug this guy in. All the quality equipment here. So, all right. So, yeah. No, it's upside down. Why is it every time you stick the USB in, it's always upside down? Never fails. And then you flip it around, and then it's still upside down, and then you flip it back the first way, and it goes in. So, beyond that, what else have we got coming up? I am like way ahead on Sick Flicks episodes. Like, I think I have 12 of them scripted, like ahead of where we are now. So there's a bunch of stuff coming there. What have I got? This week we filmed Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, which is just a classic. Hammer Kung Fu, Hammer Horror with Shaw Brothers Kung Fu. This movie is amazing. I can't believe it's taken me this long to do it. If you've never seen this, you're in for a treat. You're like, this episode is literally like one of my favorites, like that I've done recently, and I've done some pretty good ones. I think, like, usually I don't like my shows, but like there's been some good ones recently, and that one is a good one. We've also got Finally, Uli Lamel is coming to the show. The Devonsville Terror, which is another witch movie with Donald Pleasance basically just showing up to collect a paycheck, which is my favorite Donald Pleasance, for sure. So, and we've also got coming. These are not filmed yet. I just have them sitting here because I have to rip them. We've got Larry Cohen's classic, Q the Winged Serpent, which gives us not only Michael Moriarty from Law and Order in a leading role, but we've got David Carradine and Shaft in a monster movie. This is my childhood. Like this movie, this used to come on cable like 24/7. Like it was on HBO or one of those channels all the time. And so I saw this movie to the point where I knew like the dialogue, like Jaws. Like I could quote lines from this movie all day as a kid. And a very exciting one that was very hard to do, Jim Van Bebber's Deadbeat at Dawn, which is a classic, but is also like it's a tough movie. It's a tough little movie. It's not a super pleasant little movie, but it's pretty gory and low budget, and I love Jim Van Bebber, and it's a classic. So we've not filmed that yet. Beyond that, we've got another Donald Pleasance flick. Nothing Underneath, which is an Italian film, which is hilarious because he tries to do an Italian accent in it, and it just doesn't work. So that's great. And then we have a rare sick flick that was not rated R. We actually have a PG-13 sick flick coming, but I could not do it because it's like if you're a Gen Xer, this was a staple of your childhood because it was also on cable all the time. We did The Gate, which I love The Gate. So yeah, I hope you guys are excited for those. So those are all upcoming episodes. There are some more that I'm forgetting. Oh, this week is a good one. We've got Razorback, which just came out on Blu-ray, which is like Jaws with a giant boar in the outback. And it's an absolutely fantastic film by Russell Mulcahy, who made Highlander. So you will definitely not want to miss that one. That's a good episode. Like Jay always tells me, like, if an episode's like, he never says an episode is bad, which is nice because it spares my feelings. But he always says like, yeah, that was a solid episode if it was just, the normal baseline good, funny. But like if he comes back and says something was like, he's like, oh my God, this one killed me, then I generally know we did okay. And he really thought Razorback was funny. So hopefully you guys like that one. But missing super chats. Is that El Bowie Jr.? Thank you so much. No comments, just supporting the cause. Man, I appreciate that. Because, man, the cause is like, YouTube is constantly messing with my money. Like, it never ends. Obsidian82, thank you for the super chat. Wonder if you will do a list of movies with gratuitous TNA since we pretty much... we have not run out of Linnea Quigley flicks. I've got more Linnea Quigley flicks sitting in the other room. I just haven't gotten to them yet. We've got several. Plus, did you see Terror Vision has done what we've all been waiting for? The Linnea Quigley horror workout is coming to Blu-ray, and I have a copy on the way. So I don't know if I can make a Sick Flicks episode out of it, but I'm gonna try. All right, let's catch up with the chat. I mean, I missed a ton of chat. Boy. Yeah. So, all right. Horror workout is amusing, dumb, fun. Absolutely. Yeah. So, the other thing that they released that I did order, like I talked shit about getting it and then actually got it before it sold out was Pod People is coming out on Blu-ray. I believe from Severin. I think it's Severin. I could be wrong. They all blend together for me because I order so much stuff, which also comes with the Trumpy stuffed figure, which I'm super excited about. So, so yeah, we might actually cover the movie that is the origin of It Stinks. So then people can quit asking me where It Stinks come from, but they won't. Yeah, that Seven Golden Vampires does rock. It is a classic piece of 70s cheese. It's I'm sorry, I think it's brilliant. I know some people like consider it the oddball because it's like the Shaw brothers and Hammer, and Christopher Lee isn't Dracula in it, and but the guy, I forget the guy's name who is Dracula. I'm terrible. But he's good, and it's just like it's so kooky, and like I don't know how you can not love it. So yeah. He has wine to drink in Spain, damn it. That's absolutely right. Paycheck Pleasance is going to be, he's got to afford the wine and the house in Spain. And you can tell, like, my favorite part of Nothing Underneath is Pleasance doing a terrible Italian accent while he eats spaghetti from the salad bar at Wendy's in Italy. Which is just like the most random thing. Like, I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot that Wendy's used to serve spaghetti on the salad bar. Like, half of you kids probably don't even remember when Wendy's had a salad bar, let alone that they serve spaghetti on it. Yes, Moriarty from The Stuff. I love Michael Moriarty. Like, I don't know why. Like, by all accounts, he's a cantankerous, very difficult actor to work with. And the funny thing is like, to me is like you forget that dude is like a seriously talented actor because you watch him in the Coen movies and he's just hamming it up so crazily. And then and that's how I always thought of him. And then he turns up on the first few seasons of Law and Order and he's like a legitimate serious actor on that show. And I'm like, it's like such a disconnect for me. But like when we were working on the script, there's a Larry Cohen story and I forget what the movie is, but he's like, Michael Moriarty is the only guy who's ever been in a scene with Jack Nicholson who outacted Jack Nicholson. And he's probably right. Like, I wish I could remember which movie it was now, but yeah, like that dude's like a serious, like he's a talented actor. He's also reportedly incredibly difficult to work with. Although Larry Cohen says like that they loved each other. So I guess that's cool. But, like the stories of him being on Law and Order, like he was drinking, apparently he was drinking a lot and he was like just awful to work with. And that was not unusual, like throughout the course of his career for people to say he's super talented, but he's also super difficult. That Shaw Brothers box set is awesome. I don't have that yet. There's 2 volumes of it. So I need to buy those, Jack. I love all those movies. So I think the only Linnea left. Oh no, there's more Linnea left. There's more than Pumpkinhead too. I've got a double feature of her sitting in my office right now. But yeah, it's gonna happen. You know what happened was like I don't know, like I think we did those and I was like attracting a new audience of pervs, and then they got I think they all thought like I was gonna show the nudity, and so they quit coming to them. So. Q the Winged Serpent is so good, Paris. It is a very good movie. Now they'd CGI the hell of it and all that stuff. But, back then it's all the puppets and, terrible matte paintings. And I love that shit. So, Witch Shaft, Richard Roundtree, man, the original. So, yeah, more Giallo, more Argento. Yeah, I really want to get back to doing some Fulci. I was like, we haven't done any Fulci in a while. And I have stuff like I have Contraband sitting on my desk and some other stuff like that. Nothing Underneath is Italian, so that's not Argento, but it does have Franco Ferrini wrote it, who wrote a bunch of stuff with Argento, so which is why they hired him to do it. But yeah, we will definitely do more Argento. Part of the problem for me with like doing Argento's films is like I love them so much and it's hard to make jokes about them because I love them and I think he's like such a gifted filmmaker. And I mean, it would be easier to do Dracula 3D or do you like Hitchcock or Giallo or something like one of the terrible ones, right? Like the later career terrible stuff. But like I try to do like the good stuff that I like, and I always feel like a little bit guilty, like making fun of Tenebrae or Suspiria or Inferno or So, but we should do like Four Flies on Grey Velvet, I think, at some point this year. I love that stuff too, but I sometimes like I go on these runs where we do a bunch of Italian stuff, and like there's a portion of the audience is like, I like Italian stuff, but can we do something else? And so I've been trying to like just mix it up a little bit, so that's all. But we'll get back to it. Q, I confess I haven't looked yet. Yeah, Q has some, yeah, that's a good movie. So Shaft, what else we got here? Tom was not Pumayman. He was the antagonist. Correct. He was, oh God, what's his name? Oh, I can't think of what his name is, but he's he's like, get me the Pumayman. That is like one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater episodes for sure. Yeah. Seven Golden Vampires, Yorkshire is like, I watched it a lot as a kid, and I can't remember who. There's somebody who watches regularly, who comments, who's asked for me to do that for a long time, and I just kept like, I bought it because I'm like, I love it. We should totally do it. And then it just got, like I shift stuff around in the production cycle a lot based on how things are doing and how I think something else will do and how much trouble it's going to be. And that one just got stuck in the pile, and it stayed in the pile, but I didn't get it out until just recently. I'm like, it's finally time to do this. So David Carradine may have been so. I don't think he was Mr. Galactus. I think there was a lot of drinking on the set of that movie. Blood Beach, The Gate. Yes, The Gate, Old Pigeon. The Gate is coming. And it's funny because that was a headache, that one. The reason that The Gate did not happen sooner was because it's released on Blu-ray here in America through Vestron Video, which is a great label, was a great imprint from back in the day. And Lionsgate now owns the Vestron library. And as we know, they are incredibly claim happy, and I get tired of fighting with them, and I just kind of quit doing their movies. And then I went, well, they own too many movies for me to quit doing their movies. We're just going to have to fight them out on these things. And so, yeah, I knew when we did The Gate that I knew before it even went up that we were going to get claimed, and we were going to have to fight, and we were going to have to send nasty letters back and forth. And surprisingly enough, they actually released it without going to the counterclaim, let's go to court stage. So that was exciting. That's a new development that was different. So yeah, but so you're getting it. It'll be it's not this week is going to be Razorback, and I imagine The Gate will be the week after. So not super gory, but it's a classic. And there's like, Jay thought that one was funny too. I was really worried that one wasn't funny because I like it, and I had a hard time scripting it, and then Jay's like, oh no, this is hilarious. So I'm hoping everybody likes it. Yeah, we need more Argento films. I agree. We do. They're just hard to do. 10 points for me. Yes, Old Pigeon. You got The Gate, you get 10 points. Or at least the screenwriter's credit. You're like writing the show now. Patrick, thank you. So yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up. Let's see what else I missed here. Jaws with like something is so late 70s. Yeah, it is, except this was the 80s. They're still doing it, dude. I mean, I admire. So this is funny, like just as a total aside, like the dumb shit comments I get sometimes on YouTube, not from you guys, of course, but just from random people. Some guy complained like a couple weeks ago that Piranha wasn't a Jaws ripoff because it didn't have a shark in it. It had piranhas, and it just wasn't a Jaws ripoff. And I'm like, dude, in the video, there is footage of Joe Dante, the guy who made the film, literally saying, we wanted to make a Jaws ripoff. So, like, why are we having this argument? So, yeah, people make me crazy sometimes. The Gate is the 6th sequel. Trespassers is hard to track down. I don't know that one. I don't think. Hey, Frog, I'm glad you've been binge watching, and I'm glad you've enjoyed it. So, yeah, The Gate, yeah, my Titan. The Gate is definitely worth the watch. It's a classic piece of 80s horror. It's not a super duper gory flick, but it's very well done, and it's fun, and I think. Like, I don't know if you're younger or if it works the same, but like we grew up with that, and we all love it. So I just reported on your Blu-ray collection. Oh no. What does that mean? Yeah, Razorback was awesome. PG was not uncensored, Amy. PG was just like there was no rule like you had to be a certain age to get into a PG-13 movie. Like G was anybody could get in, and PG you could pretty much get in, and then R you had to be 17 or have a parent or guardian with you, and then but like Jaws was PG, and then Temple of Doom was PG. They wanted a PG rating for that, and it was just too much with the heart ripping out in the opening, and so that's why they made PG-13. So, yeah, lots of 80s stuff, man. And it's not by design. It's just those are good movies. So I like to share them with people. I'd like to do more 90s stuff. So at some point, I pre-ordered the horror workout as well. Yes. I was like, I can't believe I'm ordering this, but I'm like, I have to order it. Does she do lines of coke between sets? You're gonna get me demonetized. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of hell yeahs in the workout video for sure. All right. Super chat. Goobs, thank you. Have you ever seen the Twins of Evil? I don't know that I've seen that one. Can you tell me more about it? I might have, or I might have seen it under a different title, but that one doesn't ring a bell. So, yeah, Gremlins also was part of the PG-13 thing. Yeah, there were guys. That one did come out as PG though, right? I'm pretty sure. But then afterwards, they're like, yeah, we need to come up with something that's something between PG and R. Monster Squad. Yeah, so Monster Squad is interesting because I had intended to do it back in the early days, and what happened was we did Night of the Creeps because I love Night of the Creeps, and of course Sony friggin' claimed that the second before it was done uploading. They had claimed that. And so I've not ever gone back and done, and it didn't do well either. Like, I don't know why. Like, that was the start of, like, if I do something that's pretty mainstream and popular and well known on the channel, it just doesn't do very well for whatever reason, which makes it really hard to grow. Because I find the guys like you who I love, who are like me, who like all this obscure stuff, but like, it's hard to lure in like people who don't know they love this stuff yet when you're showing like you can't ever cover mainstream popular type films because they're like, what's this Grizzly movie? I don't know. This looks like crap. Well, it is crap, but it's good crap, so you should come watch it. But they don't do well. So yeah, Monster Squad is one that always scares me because I'm like, that's such a popular movie, and we'll see with The Gate, because The Gate is a popular film from that era as well, and if The Gate does well, then I'm totally open to doing Monster Squad. Yeah, don't say Cruel Jaws is a Jaws ripoff either, because Cruel Jaws is a bunch of different Jawses, right? From different Jaws movies, even. Francisco, thank you. I appreciate that. Greetings from Florida. So, yeah. The Gate 2, Antoinette, I haven't seen that in a long time. Like, I have it here, so we may do it if The Gate does well. I may dive into it. I don't remember liking it as well. But I also remember that was one we rented and saw on cable a bunch of times. Yeah, The Hills Have Eyes 2 remake. That was just one, again, that was, I'm pretty sure that's a Lionsgate. And so, I just kind of stayed away from it. Plus, the original Hills Have Eyes, when I did it, did terribly, which I was sort of surprised by because everybody's like, oh, do a Craven. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll do Hills Have Eyes. And it just didn't do very well. So, I mean, sometimes that just happens, but it's tough. It's tough when you're putting out a video a week and they, one tanks and it's like, oh shit, I just wasted a week. So I hope I'm on an extra diet this week because the video didn't do well. So Death Watch, that could be Wombat. I mean, we've got, no lie, the list of movies to cover on Sick Flicks alone is well over 1,000 titles at this point. And I just can't make them fast enough. So like there's a ton of stuff on there, and I never know when I'm going to get to it because I'm terrible at planning. So you know, I'm like, oh, we should do that, and then I forget. And or we should do that, and then like, you know, I had plans to do Deep Rising because I love Deep Rising, and I was like, fuck it, we're just going to do it, and I'm just going to fight Universal to the death on it, right? And because they're going to claim it. And then James did it this week. So now I'm like, well, shit, I don't want to do it after he did it. So now I got to delay it, you know, a year. So that happens sometimes too. I just don't like to do the same thing like close to another channel in the space, because then it's like, oh, you're ripping off so-and-so, or you can't think up your own movies, or, you know, some crap like that. And I'd rather just not deal with it, because as I said, I'm hangry. Yeah, Spielberg is even said, right, exactly. Spielberg even acknowledges it's a Jaws ripoff, and he likes it. I'm like, why? Like, why are we having this argument? And he's not the first guy who's made this. He's like the third guy who's made a comment like that on that video. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, why are we having this argument? This is not even up for debate. Like, the guys who made the movie will tell you they were making a Jaws ripoff. So. People are going to give me a stroke. Root, Dr. Thorne. Ever seen God Monster of Indian Flesh? I have not seen that. How old is that? I'm not even familiar with that one. Now I'm going to have to go find it. Damn, Fear 1987. Monster Squad is a childhood favorite. I have a hoodie and t-shirt that says Wolfman. Yeah, I love Fred Decker's work. Like, he's great. I love him. He should have a bigger career. Yeah, that was just one like, you know, we just haven't got to it because I didn't know how it would do. And, you know, like sometimes I'm like, if I get an inkling something's not going to do well, we just kind of kick it down the road for some future date. So, oh, I'm sorry, Bronson, I missed your super chat. I've asked several people this question. If you listen to Ozzy Osbourne, what is your favorite song to listen to on Halloween? Jeez, I'm a rap guy. Like, that's well documented that I'm a hip hop guy. Yeah, Ozzy for Halloween. Bark at the Moon, man. That's my one. That's the one I would listen to. I like Ozzy a lot, and you know, it's funny because when I was a young lad, there was that point where you're like developing your musical tastes, and it could go different ways depending on what you're exposed to. And like, I was really into, you know, underground New York hip hop, and then Ozzy's Ultimate Sin came out that summer, and the video came out, and it was on a lot, and I was like, man, I really dig this, and that made me like metal. So, you know, like, I'm not like nearly as conversant about Ozzy and metal and all that as I am about hip hop, but I definitely listen to my fair share. It turns up in the show every once in a while, and yeah, I guess like, I think like maybe the perfect Bark at the Moon is like a perfect Halloween song when you think about it. So that'd be my pick. I hope I passed the test. Hey, just finished my guitar lesson. Let's talk horror movies now. All right, how'd the guitar lesson go? I'm jealous of anybody who can play a musical instrument. I'm not musically gifted. I can scratch, but that's about it. Have you seen Vampires Suck? No. Nick, what are you doing here? You're in Hawaii, dude. Why are you in my live stream? Does your wife know you're on your honeymoon and you're hanging out on my live stream? What the fuck, man? Nick is my dear friend. Been friends for like 20 some years. He's on his honeymoon. Wish him a happy honeymoon. He got married like last year, but they had to postpone the honeymoon, and now he's in Hawaii having a good time. I'm sitting in Florida on a live stream. He must not be having a good enough time because he's watching me. When's my text going to start blowing up, Nick? This is Nick's wife. I gave him permission. Awesome. Well, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. I was like, man, that can't be a good honeymoon if he's watching me. Oh, Nick has 5 minutes between sessions, right? Nick, see what you walked into, man. You don't want to be in here. Yeah. So, yeah, Nick's in Hawaii. I have no desire to go to Hawaii. I live in Florida, which is like Hawaii with different meth, I guess. So Jeepers Creepers Reborn. No, I haven't seen anything. So like last month when we live streamed, I'd actually seen some new movies. I had seen like Scream 5, which was not exactly new, but yeah, I'd seen that, and I'd seen a couple other things that I talked about, like the Deadstream and all that. And like this month, I have not seen anything new. I've been so busy scripting new shows that I never got around to watching anything like Skinamarink or any of that yet. So I haven't seen Evil Dead Rise. I haven't seen The Pope's Exorcist, which I don't even know if I want to see. But yeah, Florida has the best meth. It's how the Gators stay alive. Florida, where Day of the Dead takes place. Yes, God's waiting room. So yeah, I have not seen Evil Dead Rise yet, Daniel. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Actually, I'm morbidly curious. I've heard it's not. Well, let's put it this way. I've heard conflicting reports, but I've heard more positive than negative. So, but I have heard some negative from people who I generally trust. But for the most part, I've heard good things. So I'm interested in checking it out. You should check out Altered. I've seen Altered. That's the one of the Blair Witch guys' alien flick, right? I think that's it. I know I've seen it. I'm pretty sure that's it. As a Floridian, do any sick flicks set in Florida come to mind? No. Not any good ones anyway. I mean, technically, Nightmares in a Damaged Brain is here, which was a video nasty, which also got age gated for some reason that I can't explain. But yeah, that one, like, as you remember, that guy spends half the movie driving to get to Florida, and then he gets here, and then he kills some people. So, yeah, I think that would be the one, I guess, like off the top of my head. Turtle Wars, thank you. Just sending a little support. Love the channel. Well, I appreciate that. That is awesome. Breeders, that is a good one. I have to see if I can find a copy. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time. Kentucky here. Yeah, I have a rule that I will not cover Jeepers Creepers because of the Victor Salva crap. I think that's reprehensible, and I just don't want to. Like, I don't even like the first movie that much, so like, not covering it is not like the end of the world. And enough other people will, but I don't want to give that guy the royalties. So. It's my moral stand for the day, guys. I'm not giving Victor Salva any money. No money for Victor from me. All right, what have I missed back here? I get so far behind on the chat, man. Are you ready for the most crazy honeymoon? Damn straight. Put on sweatpants and watch. That's my honeymoon. Michael Mays, it was a real struggle for me to get through Scream 5 as well. I absolutely hated every second of it, which has made me not want to see Scream 6. I have no desire to see more of those characters. Just like, the legacy characters coming back in Scream 5 is nice. I always like to see, Gail and Dewey and Sydney. The new characters were just abhorrent people, and I just like, I'm not like, it's not unusual for me to watch a slasher movie and root for characters to die because they're so unpleasant, but I wanted everyone to die in Scream 5. Oh, the Fearway. Huh. I don't know that one either. Don't bother with Skinamarink. Yeah, I get that a lot. So now I feel almost obligated to just give it a shot so I can say, oh yeah, this sucks and this is why, and people were right. If you saw Skinamarink, if you look at the ceiling while trying to sleep, that's what I hear. Which is why I haven't gotten to it. Oh, yeah. I saw 2 80s thrash metal bands last night. That's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, like, music is so like weirdly homogenized now with tech and the industry being controlled by a couple labels, but it's nice that like I'm always happy when I find some guys who are still doing like, not trap beat hip hop mumble mouth shit. So yeah, so it's good. I'm glad that people are still making like 80s metal and thrash and hip hop and all that. All right, don't taint my perception, old pigeon. I appreciate that. See, the Paris is here. It's like, this is exactly it with Skinamarink. I have people who have come at me and said it's like watching paint dry and grass grow. And then I've had people like Paris have said it's the best thing they've seen in ages. And so it's got a vibe. And so I kind of get that you're going into it and it has like a vibe that's either going to work for you or not. And I'm really curious if it will. It might for me because I'm kind of weird that way. Like sometimes I just like Antrim really works for me, or Poughkeepsie tapes. Like a lot of people, those are very divisive films, but they both work for me. So I don't know. But I'm not 100% sure Skinamarink is going to work for me just on what I've heard. But it might. Skinamarink 810, Pope's Exorcist 810, Evil Dead Run. Man, you're on a good run, Devin. That's some good scores. I don't ever get runs like that. Mr. Galactus, are you a fan of Red Letter Media? Yeah, I do occasionally watch a little Red Letter Media. I like those guys. I try to keep up with like everybody who's popular in the movie space on YouTube. Like not in the movie space in general, because I don't watch like Stuckman or the guys who do the Marvel stuff, because I'm just not because I don't like them, just because I'm not particularly interested in those movies. Like I spent years working for like movies.com and Fandango and Cinema Blend, where I just spent all day covering Star Wars and Marvel movies for them. So I don't want to come to YouTube and watch more stuff about that stuff. But yeah, I do like Red Letter Media. I try to, I keep up with Spooky Rice. I keep up with Brandon. I keep up with Brad the Cinema Snob, Decker Shadow, Andy at Stitch Together, Piz. All the horror guys I try to keep up with. Like I don't see every video, Red Letter, but like if they show up in my feed and I got some time to kill, I absolutely watch, because I like to see what everybody's doing and what they're working on. And sometimes they cover something that didn't occur to me to do, or they have an interesting take. So yeah, I like that, all that stuff. So WrestleManiac, yeah, Obsidian. That's on the list. It's funny because so here's a little secret. God, how long has it been? It's been like 15 years. 15 years, I guess. 15 years ago, I started writing professionally about horror films in like 1999. So I've been doing this for a very long time at this point. And so I wrote a lot of reviews, like, because back then YouTube didn't exist and everything was like, you write a review, it goes on a blog or it goes on a website or whatever. And that's basically how I became a film critic. I had a friend who was like, hey, you should come write horror movie reviews for me. And so I did, and I wrote a bunch for him. And then I just started writing all over the place and making a living, and it became my career. And so must have been probably around 2008, I probably had like 3,000 horror movie reviews written at this point in my career. And I'm like, I should do something with these, right? like just posting them on websites is probably dumb in retrospect. So I should take them and publish a book of them. Like, and that was the origin of Sick Flicks 15 years ago. The book was going to literally be called Sick Flicks. And then there was going to be a series of them. And so I put all the reviews together, and, we had a rating system. It wasn't barf bags back then. And, we had like these reviews, and they're all like 1,000 to 2,000 word reviews of these, films, like extreme gore films and stuff like that. And so I went out and I'm like, well, I don't want to get an agent. I just want to sell this book. It's nonfiction, so I don't really need an agent. And so we sent it out, and I sent it out just like a total naive thing. I sent out this query to a bunch of places. And lo and behold, one of them wrote back and said, hey, yeah, we're interested in this book, but we don't really know you. And so we have this other book project called, about slasher movies. And would you we have 38 essays and we'd like to have an even 40. Will you do 2 essays for it? And I'm like, sure. Like, we'll pay you. And I'm like, sure. That's all you have to say is you'll pay me. And so I wrote a piece about opera and I wrote a piece about stage fright, and they went into this publisher, and then the book fell apart. And then another guy came in, another who had his own press, and he took over the project, and it was called Butcher Knives and Body Counts, and it's long out of print. But I did eventually get paid and get my copy. It took a long time, but once I actually got a hold of him, I finally got everything squared away with him. So kudos for that, Vince. But like the Sick Flicks book has sat around, like people asked me about it all the time, and so I was like, oh, it's done. It's just sitting on a hard drive, and so I just never went back and tried to publish it again, because the experience with like Butcher Knives and Body Counts dragged out so long and just was like such a nightmare, in the sense of like it took me years to get my paltry money, and again, not necessarily Vince's fault. There was a communication issue, like things were not getting to him. And I could have been more persistent about it. It wasn't enough money for me to get all worked up about. But yeah, so I never did anything with it. And now I'm like, well, shit, I should publish these books. I have a show called Sick Flicks, right? So yeah, we are going to do the first volume of Sick Flicks is basically ready to go, and I'm working on the second, and you know, that just made me think, because when I was working on it, WrestleManiac didn't make the cut for the first book, but I'm like, oh, this should go in the second one. So if you know, at some point you'll be able to buy a book of Sick Flicks reviews, that not necessarily like the punny script style, but like actual like reviews of, and I mean, there are movies in there that I like. Again, like if you like Olaf Ittenbach, there's Black Past and Burning Moon and August Underground and 1 and 2, and you know, the All Night Long films. There's a lot of stuff in there that's like extremely splattery that I probably can't ever cover on the show. So if you ever wanted to know what I thought about those movies without asking me, if you wanted like an actual like a review of them, that will be out at some point, hopefully this year. I'll let you know. Skinamarink gets 1 barf bag for shaky cam. I love it. Kevin, thank you. New to your channel, but love the content. My best from the Southern Plains of Colorado. Well, thank you from Central Florida. I'm glad you found me, and I'm even more glad you like me. Not everybody does. I see the comments. Savini's favorite, Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. Yeah, I love that all these years later we're still debating, you know, whether Savini, what he did, or whether he did anything, or yeah. Evil Dead Rise, good gory fun. I give it a 4 barf bag. That's speaking my language, Amy. Antoinette, horror cons. Yeah, let's talk about that. Oh, hang on. Nick is texting me, guys. Let's see what Nick is saying. Thanks for the shout out, dude. Steam looks great. Well, hey, awesome. Thanks, man. I hope you're having fun in Hawaii. Yeah, yeah, oh, where'd I go? Oh, horror cons. Yeah. So we are working on cons. I have a manager who is taking care of that, who's reaching out to cons, and we are in the process of negotiating with several. I don't know if they'll say, hey, we want that guy to come, or hey, that guy's nobody and we don't want him here. So it could go either way. I am disappointed. We really had targeted Spooky Empire for May in Orlando, and it didn't work out, but they are like, let's revisit this closer to the October show, which is actually better because it's closer to Halloween, right? So yeah, so I'm not going to be at that one. I am going to be at one. I'm not allowed to say yet because they haven't released guest lists and stuff like that. But I will absolutely let you know where I'm going to be, and we are working on a bunch of them. With the hope not that I will go to all of them, but that if we target like 20 of them, that maybe 10 of them will say, yeah, hey, why don't you come do this show? Part of the problem is like, look, in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty small potatoes, like, you know, almost 80,000 subs, but you know, I was at Atlanta with Critical Drinker, who's 1.6 million. so it's a bit of a drop off in terms of popularity. And so they're like, yeah, maybe when he's a little bigger. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping we do more. I had fun in Atlanta. I'm totally down for doing more. So yeah, Soul Pigeon. I love the Shrine. That's the Jack Brooks people actually. So and it's funnily enough, I'm God, what's his name? Brendan something, who wrote it, is a Twitter friend. Who was actually the guy who, when I did Jack Brooks, was like, they actually contracted me at one point to write a sequel to Jack Brooks, and nothing ever came of it. So that was a bummer. But yeah, I like John Knotts, the guy who made that film and Jack Brooks. I think he's a really cool director, and I wish he got more work. I think it would be pretty. He had interesting ideas, and he liked practical effects, and yeah, I just thought, like, why is this guy not getting more work? So, I know the guy coming out of the building with the alligator. That could be me in my backyard. I've got now, dude. I go for a walk every morning as part of my cardio, and I literally see 4 alligators every morning, like babies, big ones, little ones. They're out sunning. I get them in my backyard. It's Florida's wild, man. it's like Australia, with less accent. Everything will kill you. Oh, see, I like Deadstream Paris. I really thought that guy was funny. I thought he nailed the like douchey YouTuber vibe, but I will say, early on, I wasn't sure I was gonna like it. But as it goes, it really grew on me. I thought Deadstream was pretty good. So, all right, Nick, we'll have a good time. Aloha to you, if you're still here. All right. Oh my chat jumps, man. I hate when it does that. Ugh. Now I gotta scroll all the way back and find us where I was. Have I missed any sick? Oh, I missed the super chat. I'm sorry. I'll make sure I miss any others. Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite Johnny Depp Tim Burton movie? Ooh. I don't think I have one, Bronson. I saw Edward Scissorhands in the theater, oddly enough, and I remember thinking, this is the most depressing movie ever. I mean, obviously there are more depressing films, but I'm not a big Tim Burton fan, to be totally honest with you. I think he's an interesting guy. I just don't particularly care for most of his films. Yeah, Spooky Emma, she's great. Special Agent, she's excellent. I do like Emma a lot. I always forget to mention her because I'm terrible. Like, every time somebody asks me, I have this like moment of terror because I'm like, I'm gonna forget somebody who I like, and and then it's gonna feel like I slighted them and it's totally unintentional. I can't list everyone I like. There's just too many. Like, honestly, it's amazing to me that how many good horror content creators there are on this platform. Like, you can look at it and you go, well, there's like, maybe 20 really great horror content creators here, but that's a lot when you think about it. Like, if you go out into the mainstream internet, finding 20 horror people who are good and that you like is pretty tough. So YouTube, this always pisses me off because I'm like, you guys are sitting on like a gold mine of people who, know things about this genre and connect with audiences and bring people in who are interested into it, and you treat us like shit. Like, you treat me like a criminal most weeks. Like, if I'm not in trouble for some bullshit copyright claim, I've broken some imaginary community guideline, and God, don't get me started. Sickest film I've seen. I honestly don't know at this point because I've seen so much sick shit that I'm totally desensitized to it. But the answer is always the film that almost made me sick is Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. The scene with the guy with the, it's funny because Spooky Rice just covered it, and kudos to him because they'd kill me for covering that. But he mentioned the scene that made me a little squeamish. I don't like puking, and so a movie with people just literally puking over and over and over for real was an endurance test for me. So, and there is one scene in there that's like really over the top with the puking, and I'm just like, I can't even believe I'm watching this. So yeah, movies past 2000, like I wish I could do more of them. And I'm trying to do more of them. It's funny though, because Jay and I were talking about that the other day, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do a recent one. Like I'd like to do Slither at some point, and it's like that's like 15 years old now. Like this is how old I am, is that I still think of like the early 2000s as like just a few weeks ago. So yeah. Oh, spooky astronauts. Yeah, she's a creative machine. She makes a lot of videos, and I think that's awesome because she's always like she's got a list. She's always breaking stuff down. I like Emma. Emma actually. I didn't know Emma, and she reached out to me like way back when I must have had like 2,000 subs maybe, and was just super nice to me when I was starting out. So I will always be appreciative of her for that, because when you start out on YouTube, it's like you're alone. You're lost in the wilderness of YouTube. Like you don't know how anything works. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing exactly. And so when somebody who's like, at that point, she still had like 60,000 subs or something like that. And when someone like that comes along and says, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. Welcome to the space," and willing to answer questions and all that, which was the same as she wasn't the only one. Like before I started, we had the same thing. Like James Dead Meat was super helpful to me. I talked to him and asked him a bunch of questions, and Brad the Cinema Snob has always been super helpful to me and open door if I ever need anything. Jay, Bloodbath and Beyond was a big channel. Anytime I've ever had questions. So yeah, it's a nice community. There's I'm sure there's always drama in these YouTube communities, but I'm 50, so I don't fucking get involved in that because I'm a grown up. But for the most part, the YouTube horror community is really nice people. Which is always wild to me, because I'm like, that isn't how it is when you write. Like the film critic community is not always like, if you've been on film Twitter, we don't all get along, and some of us actually hate each other. So the fact that you could come to YouTube and everybody's nice is like, I wasn't prepared for that. I came in here expecting to go to war. Fave sick flick from the 90s. Ooh. Well, I mean, the obvious answer here for me, and it's been on the show, is Cemetery Man. The end of the golden age of Italian horror cinema. Michele Soavi's finest hour. Zombie movie, beautiful, classic. That's my pick. Yeah, that's my pick. I hope that measures up. Yeah. If you've not seen Cemetery Man, don't watch my video. Just go find a copy and watch it, and then watch my video. Prince Everlove, thank you. I appreciate that. Florida's Hawaii with alligators. Yeah, that's pretty not far off. A lot of sharks too, man. Body Parts. Yeah. What's funny is like Body Parts is one I have not seen since I saw it in the theater. That's how old I am. I saw Body Parts in the movie theater on a date in high school. and I have never been back to see it. And I remember like back then not loving it, but I think it's that was just because I was a teenager, and like I was a teenage Mike in the 80s, early 90s was very much a slasher guy. Like I wanted slasher movies. So like, and I would go see other horror stuff, but I really wanted like the Jasons, Freddys, Michaels, that kind of vibe and everything. And so Body Parts probably didn't hit with me at that time because I wanted a slasher movie, and instead we got this. It's a pretty smart movie, as I recall. Actually, it's got like that interesting Frankenstein thing to it going on in it, and Jeff Fahey's an interesting actor. So yeah, that's what I would like to do, because I've noticed that people have like a new appreciation for it, and I have not seen it in a long time. And Bad Moon was like, wasn't that like the Eric Red werewolf movie? I know I've seen that too. That was like the guy who did The Hitcher, as I recall. So yeah, that's a definite one I would do as well. there's a lot of that stuff from that era, from the video store era, that I just haven't gotten to. And part of the idea of B-Movie Babylon for me is that they won't be sick flicks, but I'll still get to talk about these movies, you know, that maybe don't lend themselves quite as well to an episode of sick flicks, but are still like fit in that B-movie, cult cinema, trash cinema subgenre I love so much. And so I'm happy to talk about them. Like I've said, B-Movie Babylon, I cannot wait to talk about like Ninja 3 The Domination, or Revenge of the Ninja, or Jim Cotta, or I don't just love horror movies. I love tons of bad movies and I really love them. And so I'm excited to talk about them. And sometimes like sick flicks is just a little too limiting to like it's hard to fit. Like, again, there's all those Fragasso action movies and Matei action movies. And, I cram them into sick flicks sometimes, but they don't exactly fit. And so this way I can kind of talk about them without having to try to shoehorn them into the sick flicks formula. So what else have we got here? You know what Greatest Toys Ever Made? I still have not seen Found. It's funny is like we did Headless and I know what Found is, obviously, but I've never seen Found, but I own Headless. So I really should find a copy of Found and cover it at some point. Yes, I am, Vincent. I'm sorry, Vincent. Missing one of the buttons on your pedestal. Yes, I am. It's actually on the podium, on the flat part. Those are not real. They're just glued on. And for some reason, every once in a while, one falls off. And I keep them. We just haven't gotten around to gluing them back on. But that's an eagle eye. You have passed the vision test. Yeah. All right. Book us, Mike. Daniel, yes, I have covered Headless. Headless, I don't remember. Did it get age gated? It didn't. If it didn't get age gated, it got demonetized. There was no way. Yeah, I remember when August Underground was a new release too. That's the good old days, man. Back of that and Murder Set Pieces, and like it was a new age of extreme gore cinema, and then it never really went anywhere. Like it just kind of. You know why it didn't go anywhere? Because the press decided to call it torture porn and label Hostel extreme, and that kind of killed it all. Who says bad? Oh, dude, Wombat. Not too many people. Every once in a while we go on a little roll where people just want to say shitty things in comments about me. I don't care. I like, honestly, I don't. I dunk on people just because I can, because I get bored. But yeah. Chris, thank you. I really hope people will like the book. It's just some of my favorite, horror movie reviews. So some of my favorite movies, it's me writing about them instead of talking about them, but you can read it in my voice, or maybe I'll do an audiobook version in the Horror Geek voice for you. Yeah. Texas Fright. Yeah. So Texas Frightmare was on my list, right? Weird. It was on the list, and I think it's the same weekend as Spooky Empire Orlando, the May weekend. And so we targeted both Spooky Empires, but I really wanted to go to Texas Frightmare. My goal was to go to Texas Frightmare, I think it was in May, and go there in May and then do Spooky Empire in October. But we did not even reach out to Texas Frightmare because we had two spookies going. But my goal for next year is to be at Texas Frightmare. We'll see if we can make that happen. Yep, there is a video for Headless, but I did Headless, but I have not done Found. So Wayne, I loved Evil Dead Rise, the only horror film series I've seen that hasn't made a piss poor disappointing film. Yeah, that's true. Like I know some people don't like the 2013 the reboot, and I get, like, I have not seen it since it came out, right? But I get why people have a problem with it, because it's really tough to do an Evil Dead movie without Bruce Campbell, especially that first one. But I think as like an exercise in gore, that movie's really gory and good. So I'll go along with that. Best-selling author, writing coach Lisa Daly, super excited about the book. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Since you have a lot of input into it, I'm glad you're excited about it. Inseminoid, yeah. As soon as I get a copy, I don't own a copy of Inseminoid, but it's been on the list. I'm always like, can I make this? Can I do this? Will I get away with this? I don't know, but I hope. I'm gonna try. Return of the Living Dead, yeah, best soundtrack. It's a good soundtrack for sure. Did someone ask me my favorite soundtrack? I think I scrolled past it. I'm sorry. My favorite is I'm a big Goblin fan, so it's tough to pick. Like I really love the Suspiria score, and I really love Tenebre's score, and their work on Dawn of the Dead is also fabulous. Beyond that, though, like other horror scores I really, really love. I love Philip Glass's score for the original Candyman. I think it's fucking brilliant. Fits that movie perfectly, and it's Philip Glass. I also like a lot of Carpenter's work, like that. So it's funny because like when we were trying to do the intro for B Movie Babylon, I had to find music for it, and I'm terrible at finding music for things because you just go on these sites, right? And there's like 8,000 songs, and you can filter them a bunch of different ways, but even then you never get what you want. And I'm like, I want something that I know this makes me like a basic doof, but I want something that sounds 80s synth heavy like Carpenter. And so it took me a week, but we found something. So, but yeah, I love that 80s. And it's so funny because I rag on guys making movies now that make these indie movies where they like it's all Suspiria Argento lighting and Carpenter synths on the score, and that's how they like it's supposed to be 80s then, and like you miss the point of those. But like I do love those Carpenter synths. Trick or Treat from the 80s, and yeah, that's a good one too. That's on the list. What's the one they just announced? The other one was it Trick or Treat? I can't remember. I was getting it in Black Roses confused. I think they just announced Trick or Treat from the 80s is coming to Blu-ray, and I still have to do Black Roses at some point. I hate all the Scream movies, so boring. I like the first one a lot. But I think if you, I don't know if you were there when the first one came out. I think if you were there when the first one came out, because horror was in such a weird place in the mid 90s, like it was kind of dead after the slasher 80s. Like the early 90s were a real fucking wasteland for horror movies. And Scream came along and really just, and again, created a lot of crap in its wake. But yeah, I like the first one a lot. I don't like the second one at all. I hate the third one. Oddly, I like the fourth one, which most people don't. But yeah, and then 5, shit, 5 probably killed the whole franchise for me. I don't even know if I'll ever see 6 now. WrestleManiac is for rent on Prime, guys. Yeah, I have it on DVD around here somewhere. I gotta find it. Hey, Jonah, thank you. It's good to see you. I'm glad you came out for the live stream. And thanks for watching that video because no one else did. I just, sometimes you do a movie and you're like, I know this is not going to be 100,000 view video, right? But you're like, I was like, shit, I did not expect Pledge Night to struggle to get to 15,000 views. Like, it seems more popular than that to me. Like, it's fun and it's a good video, but yeah. Love Daddy, but the JR impression is improving. That's all I need to hear, man. You just made my night. My JR is getting better. I knew it was. Sloppy Joe, thanks for the super chat. No question. Was that just a sticker? Give me money. You got to ask a question. Least I can do. Yeah. I love the thought that everyone's going to go out and rent WrestleManiac now. This is what always kills me is like, they're like, oh, you're ripping off our copyright. And I'm like, do you know how many people go watch this stuff because we talk about it? Behind the Mask is good. Yeah, that's definitely one. If you've not seen it, everybody should check out Behind the Mask. It's a good one. Working on a retro comic book, Where Women in Outer Space. That sounds like my kind of jam there, Prince. I'm going to need to know more about that. Werewolf Women in Outer Space. God, that's a good title. Yeah, see, CGI wrecked everything. Like, I don't want to be the grumpy old man who's like, oh, CGI killed everything. But you know what's astonishing to me is like, as I said, I wrote for all the big movie sites for a long time before I came to YouTube, and one of the things we often do at those sites was there would be a video of like somebody would make like a video essay about how CGI was being used in movies. And like at first it made sense because you had shit like, well, we can't make a dragon, so we're going to do it in post in computer and we'll have a guy talk to a tennis ball in front of a green screen, right? But then like you would do these videos later and you would see that they're just literally green screening everything, like streets and cars, and like, why can't you just shoot that, right? Like why all this artificial computer stuff? And my complaint, like, I don't generally care. Like if you put CG in an action movie, it doesn't ruin it for me. I mean, like backgrounds and stuff like that, or special effects, like you can't have CGI fighting, but like they have never gotten gore right. And that's because my argument has always been that the guys who do CG effects are primarily computer guys, and so they're analytical. And the guys who did practical effects like Savini and Natali and those guys were all artists. And so they were trying to create something, again, out of practical effects that actually mimicked reality. And the computer guys just never get that right. So that's why Blood never looks right in CGI, which really wrecked horror. Is there any movie you wish had a different FX department? Can I just wish that Savini or was like on everything, or Rick Baker? I'm trying to think of something that like I wish it had better gore effects. I'll have to think about that. That's a tough one. That's a tough one off the top of my head, David. But I will think about it. Marco stopped after the third Scream. I can't blame anyone for stopping after the third Scream because that movie is abysmal. Yeah, Tracy was good for this channel. Not of This Earth was good for this channel. That's the biggest video I've had in a long time. Saw the second Scream in the theater and enjoyed the open. Yeah, so that was the only part I liked, oddly enough, because it does that little and nobody got it at the time, which was so weird to me. But like when Omar Epps, I think it is, goes into the men's room and he hears the phone call, it's like a little homage to Black Christmas, right? The phone call, and like nobody picked up on that at the time, which always was strange to me. But then, like any goodwill you get at the beginning of Scream 2 is quickly killed by Jerry O'Connell singing I Think I Love You in the cafeteria for me. So I can never get past that. All right. Yes. Rest in peace, Giovanni Lombardo Radice. Yeah. We, I know a lot of people asked if we were going to do a video, one of his films. I would like to, but the problem is that we have to make everything so far ahead now that like I would have to make it and it would still take weeks for it to come out. Plus there aren't a lot of his movies left that I haven't done. I've got The Sect, which I want to do because it's also the last Suave film we haven't covered. And there's Lamberto Bava's Body Puzzle, I think. And I think that's about all that's left of his that I haven't done. So The Sect I'd held off on for a long time because, again, it was the last Suave film and I was like not in a big rush to finish his work off because I love it so much. But it's also a little bit long, and so sometimes I try to stay away from the longer movies because the episodes and the scripts end up really long. But I think we will probably do that. Your Pledge Night video was great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Getting in Seminoid now for you. Yeah, Daniel, this is it. So this is what I think about this week. It's like we've already lost Craven, we've lost Romero, we've lost Fulci, we've lost Joe D'Amato, we've lost a lot of the the horror icons of the 70s and 80s, and we've got Carpenter left, and we've got Argento, and we've got Cronenberg, and but you realize like all those guys are in their 70s and 80s now, and they're not going to be around forever. And so yeah, it's like tough to think about like, oh, this is going to be like a recurring thing, like losing these people. And the thing that always terrifies me about that is that we don't really have a new generation of filmmakers who are ready to replace those guys. So like, you can be like, well, we've got Jordan Peele and we've got Ari Aster and we've got, Flanagan and those guys. And I like all of them. They're all interesting filmmakers and I'm interested in seeing what they do, but we don't have anybody like a Carpenter. We don't have anybody like a Romero. We don't have anybody like a Craven, a Fulci, an Argento. You don't have any of those guys who are, those like straight horror, just like want to make gory movies, and and even extreme cinema's in a weird place right now. Like we don't have enough guys even like doing extreme films now. Like so I'm really kind of worried about the future of the genre. I mean, granted, we're sort of seeing it anyway because like Argento's not making a ton of films and Carpenter hasn't made a film in forever, and so we're already kind of experiencing what the horror universe is going to be like without these guys making movies. But I'm definitely like worried about, the future, like, especially because then you add in how Hollywood has kind of just taken over the world in terms of filmmaking and killed local filmmaking in places like Italy or, Hong Kong or, all these other smaller countries that made interesting films now only want to see Hollywood stuff and they don't make their own stuff anymore, even Japan. So yeah, I'm worried about that. So I worry about that a lot. Deodato's body count on Sick Flicks. Yeah, as soon as somebody puts it on Blu-ray. I don't own a copy. I used to own it on VHS, and then I had 2 basement floods that destroyed my VHS library like, I don't know, 18 years ago. And yeah, so as soon as somebody puts that bad boy out on disc, I'm all over it. I've actually wanted to do that one for a long time. That and his the washing machine. I don't know why, but I'd love to do both of those. Night of the Comet. That's Night of the Comet is definitely coming. I think it's going to end up on B movie Babylon though. I don't know that it's going to get a Sick Flick, but it might. I haven't decided. So, Killer Clowns is a must watch. That's a classic. I'll be the grumpy old man. I hate CGI. Well, thank you. You can be my proxy. Now and Forever and Rock and Roll Nightmare. Rock and Roll Nightmare is like has quickly become like one of my favorite episodes of the show. Like I had so much fun doing that. Like I can't believe it took me so long to get to it. But yeah, I had such a good time with that one. That's like such a ridiculous movie. We absolutely have to do more John Michael Thor films on the show because I think that dude's awesome. Found is on Tubi. Oh, good. Well, at least I can watch it. I can't rip it from there. It's a pain. Dawn of the Doris Day, Girl Next Door. I'm still catching up. So one more view for Pledge Night is coming. Well, I appreciate that, Ms. Swift. I need that video needs a lot of love. The worst part of that is we had a sponsor. We had Scentbird for that one, and like I'm like, God, guys, I didn't give you a very good movie, which I felt bad about. Night of the Comet really is great, definitely. Headless is on Plex. Well, there you go. I know what Plex is. I do not have one, so I should look into that. Found on Tubi. All right. I'm going to have to go watch it then, I guess. All right, what else have we got here? I wish Savini would have made Blade. Holy shit. That's a great idea. I never even thought of that. That's a good idea, though.
Innocent Blood is awesome. Innocent Blood is one that I get asked a lot, like, will you do Innocent Blood? And I don't have any opposition to doing it because I really like it. I just worry because I forget, is it Universal or Paramount did that one? One of the big studios did that one, and I'm like, oh god, we're gonna get copyright strikes and all that. And, yeah. It's so terrible that my show has to run not on what I want to do or what would be good for the channel, but like how much of a headache I will have legally in terms of covering it. I hate the fact that I have to sit around and like waste brain energy on that kind of stuff. So yeah, practical effects, man. That's what scared me as a kid too. Jaws, yep. Jaws has great practical effects. I still find the shark in Jaws amazing. Like I know kids look at it now and kind of laugh, and I'm like, no, that thing is scary. Yeah, The Void is a great movie. So The Void is, The Void is like the interesting one for me because, as I said in the review, the first time I saw it, right after it came out, everybody had hyped that movie up to the fucking moon and back. Like everybody I knew, all my colleagues who would go to film festivals, saw The Void in like Austin, right? At one of the Austin festivals or somewhere. And they all came back and it was like, oh, this is the most amazing movie ever, blah, blah, blah. And generally when that happens, my experience is the movie never lives up to what I was told. And so I went into The Void wanting to love it because I heard like, oh, it's so gory and the practical effects and all this and that. And sure enough, it does have great practical effects. My problem the first time through The Void was that like it never felt like the story went anywhere, and I like that cosmic Lovecraftian horror shit, right? And so I wanted it to like go somewhere, but it never did. Like the story is an afterthought in that movie, but so I didn't really care for it. I was like, oh, this is another one of those ones you guys like overhyped me on, and it's my fault for letting you do that. But you guys like sell every movie you see at a screening as the greatest thing ever, and it never is. But then when I went back and did it for the show, it was different because I knew going in this time that the story was not going to go anywhere, and so I could just sit back and love it for the splatter. And in that regard, it's a great movie for sure. I'm always bummed. Like, I'm like, even though the story doesn't really go anywhere, it just gets to the end of the beyond, basically. I always wanted a sequel, and I'm always bummed that we didn't get a sequel to The Void. Like, there's more there, right? And I'm like, why don't we see more of that? So practical effects for the win, and I agree those guys back in the day were creating pure art. Yeah, they were artists, for sure. And they were artists working with terrible mediums, latex and syrup and primitive animatronics, and yet they still made it work. And I think now like CGI makes everything easy and sort of soulless. Yeah. All right, I lost my space again here. Fair use is a forgotten you're goddamn right, Bronzef Jones. It is a forgotten concept on this platform. So yeah, it is. We go through this every time I have to appeal or fight one out, and you're literally telling them like, look, this is fair use. And like. I'm so hardcore that I'm like citing legal cases in my appeals all the time. Like, here's where the court has ruled that this is what this is, and this is fine. And you're not going to win if we go to court because I already know this and we've already got precedent. And they still try to drag it out. Hope that they'll scare you off. But yeah. All right. Oh, I lost my place again. Oh man, I'm way back. I'm way back here. I'm so far behind on chat. I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you come to my chat. I just blab. I miss half the chat. All right. I can't even find where we were. Are we complaining about KMB back here? what have I missed any super chats? Yeah, I did. What's your favorite Carpenter soundtrack? Look, I'm partial to Halloween. Prince of Darkness is a great soundtrack too. Yeah, but Halloween is like Halloween is just like the way it works with that movie is so perfect. It's just like a perfect score in the sense that it accentuates the film so well that you can't, like, the movie is not the same without it. Like if you put different music in there, it doesn't work. And I've talked about this before, but back in the day on the old one of the old Laserdisc versions had this segment where, you know, when Carpenter sent the dailies in, it didn't have the score. And so one of the executives who was seeing the daily footage got to like the scene, you know, in the climax where Laurie's in the house with Michael, and, you know, before she gets back to the Wallace house, in the house where Annie was dead, she's in there and he's stalking her through there. And like the lady's like, this isn't scary. Like this isn't, nothing works here. It's not frightening. And then he played the music with it. And then she's like, oh yeah, this is really scary. And that's like the perfect example of how, you know, the right score makes a movie work. And for me, that score and that movie fit so perfectly together, and that's what makes it magical. And so if you take that score away, that movie, and even if you put a different score in there, it's not the same movie. And that's why it's my favorite. So, and I would, you know, yeah, but I would, Prince of Darkness is a great score too. I haven't seen that in a long time though. Let me know. I will let you know where you can send in Seminoid. I will drop me an email. It's on my About page on the channel. Oh, I did go too far back. That's why. Is Night of the Demons your favorite Bigfoot film? I like Shriek of the Mutilated, although I guess that's technically an Abominable Snowman film in some ways. Yeah, I can live with that. I'm not, there's been a couple in the last few years though. There was one that was, shit, I can't think of what it was. I'm not like a big Bigfoot guy. Like I find Bigfoot interesting, but I find the people who are like Bigfoot fanatics even more interesting, because I'm like, I totally could believe that the Bigfoot existed, although it gets harder and harder with each passing year because so much of America is like paved over at this point. Like, where do we hide a Bigfoot? You know, it's easier to believe there's weird shit in the ocean because we don't even know what 80% of the ocean even looks like at the bottom. But yeah, so yeah, Night of the Demon. That's the one I would tell like people if you were like trying to get into Bigfoot movies. That'd be the one I'd tell you to start with. So I guess so. Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 70s is flawless, creepy, and cool. Yeah, it really is. Plus, it's got Donald Sutherland in it. I mean, who doesn't love Donald Sutherland? Hey, Trash Slayer. I was thinking about you. I'm glad they got you a replacement, and I'm glad it's right. Yeah, I am. I was just thinking about you, and I was like, I don't know if he did anything with that or not. I'm glad they took care of you. I would have yelled at them if they hadn't. Hey, William George, how you doing? Yeah, Blob remake was fun. That's one of my favorite remakes, and you know, I still don't think it gets enough attention. I also noped out after Scream 3, and I actually liked Scream 3. No, why did you nope out after it? Like, I think 4 is like, I don't think 4 is great, but I think it's better than 2 and 3. You know, I think 4 is interesting because it's so much later, and so it's nice to see those guys come back again. Like, I don't know, I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and I just like to see. It's the same with like Clerks, man. I don't care. Kevin Smith can make Clerks movies for as long as Dante and Randall are alive, and I will watch them because I just want to see what those two guys are up to. Like, I don't even care. Like, he doesn't even need a plot. He could just do a video that's just like them in the convenience store talking for 2 hours. I just want to catch up with them. So like, and I feel like the same way about the Scream characters, I guess. Like, I don't know why. Like, they're not like such well drawn, likable characters, but there's just something like, I like Dewey and I like Gail and I like Sydney, and you know, and everybody they brought in after sucked. So let's see what we got here. I have never got to see, I regret not getting to see Carpenter live. I missed Carpenter live and I missed Goblin live, and those are big regrets. What movie, if given the chance, oh, Annabelle, you're setting me up to get in trouble. What movie, if given the chance, would you rewrite the ending and re-release? Well, I'm going to get in trouble for this because I get in trouble for it every time. But the answer is The Mist. I hate the ending of The Mist. Hate it. I think it's hacky. I think it's terrible. I think it's trash. I think it sucks. I think it ruins a really great movie. And I know King will fucking argue that he likes it and he thinks it's better than the ending he wrote in the novella, and I disagree, and which is fine because I made a deep cuts telling him he's wrong about Kubrick's The Shining too. So I'm not afraid to tell Uncle Steve he's wrong, and he is definitely wrong about the ending of The Mist. So go ahead, tell me I'm wrong, tell me how terrible I am and how great it is, but I disagree. And if I could redo that one, that would be the one. I'm gonna get in so much trouble for that. KMB is not the best company. Amazing talented people. I don't know. Do we have a problem with KMB, Andy? I mean, in general, I don't know. I like their work. I don't know if they're trying to run a monopoly or not. I've never heard anybody complain about them before this. Cronenberg does need more love. Yeah, I love Cronenberg. Like, if I could sit down with a director for a day, he'd be top of the list. I mean, you know, a horror guy. That he's the one of the ones that I haven't met that I would really like to sit down and chit chat with, and because I have like a million questions for him. I miss Up All Night. Yeah. Rhonda and Gilbert. I miss Gilbert, man. I miss Gilbert Gottfried in the worst way. Like, it was a rough stretch, man. What, we lost Gilbert, we lost Norm Macdonald. Like, we lost all our, like, sort of acerbic comedians all at once. Yeah. So I still haven't seen Possessor, Todd. That's interesting. Like, I've heard it's great, but I have not seen it. So right. Eli Roth did seem like he had it, and I guess we'll see if he does his Thanksgiving or whatever it is, Thanksgiving movie, which I'm interested in. But I'm not holding my breath. But yeah, Eli. So Eli is like Rob Zombie, and then he's super divisive amongst horror fans, and I get it. I get the detractors' issues with the work. I get the detractors' issues with Rob Zombie's work, and yet I don't have those problems with either of those guys, because my thing is like, I will never get mad at Rob Zombie for rednecking up a horror movie or whatever, and I'll never get mad at Eli Roth over whatever he's going to do with one, because both of those guys clearly love horror movies. Like, this is not like this isn't one of those Hollywood things where you just went out and hired some guy to make a horror movie. When they hire those guys, you know, those guys love this material, and so even if they don't get it right, their heart was in the right place. And to me, that matters. Like, it's important to me that we get people who respect this stuff to come in and make it, instead of just hired guns who are just coming in to make a buck or make their career or whatever. So, and I will never look at Zombie or Eli Roth and think, well, those guys, you know, don't love horror. They love horror. So I'm willing to let them keep making things, even if they don't always get it right, because I know their heart is in the right place, which is important to me. So that was serious, Mike. Yeah, Turtle. We've done like a run because I get nostalgic and I'm like, oh, I miss Up All Night, and I'm like, I miss those movies, and I used to have bunches of them on tape, on VHS. I'd just record them and have them, not because you wanted to watch the movies so much because they had commercials and they were cut, but they just like there were so many films that you'd see they were going to be on Up All Night, and then I'd go to the video store and rent them so I could actually see the movie, and then I just watch them on Up All Night with where they were cut, but for the the host segments and stuff like that. So we do still have Toby Hooper. Yeah, Toby's still kicking. Toby's got a really uneven filmography to me, though, if we're being honest. Like, I love Texas Chainsaw and all that, but like after that, it gets like he's kind of all over the place. He's made some real clunkers for sure. So, I don't know if his son has taken over for that L. Salisbury. I hadn't heard that. That would be interesting, though. Yeah, it is, Daniel. If you're talking about the passing of the guard, I think you're right. Yeah, Christopher Lee. Him passing is another one. We were just talking about this, that like we don't even have character actors anymore. Like I love character actors, but all we have now are a bunch of sort of nondescript movie stars, which are really boring. Oh no, are we having a Jordan Peele debate in here? Oh goodness, what have I done? Oh yeah, did Toby die? He might have died. I think he did, didn't he? Let me look. I can't even keep him straight anymore. Who's still alive? Oh, Toby Hooper. Did he die? Oh, yeah, he died 2017. See, I don't even remember that he died. That's wild. Fat fingers. I know what that's like. Oh, hang on. I lost my other window here. Trying to figure stuff out. Bill Fuller, thank you for the super chat. Tony Vanelli, thank you as well. I appreciate that, guys. Top 3 favorite movies: Night of the Living Dead original, Evil Dead, a made-for-TV teenage movie starring Melissa Sue. Oh my God, Melissa Sue Anderson. I like to talk a lot about the time that Little House on the Prairie. I hated Little House on the Prairie. But my family, I grew up in the era where you had one TV and like 5 channels, and my family, my sister and my parents loved Little House on the Prairie, and so I got stuck watching Little House on the Prairie a lot, and I love to talk about it because I for years thought I dreamt it. The slasher film episode of Little House on the Prairie. If you've seen that, it's the wildest fucking thing that they did a slasher film Little House on the Prairie episode with like a dude who's dressed up like a mime. It's just like, I don't know how they ever got it on the air. Pray with P.O. Is my volume low? Is anybody else having low volume? Or am I just moving away from the mic? I'm going to scroll down here and see. Volume okay? Somebody tell me. Definitely low volume? Well, why didn't anybody tell me? I don't know which one's going to turn it up. How about that? Is that better? Better. That's super high. All right. I'm just going to leave it alone. Turn up your volume if you can't hear me. I'm trying to help you guys, I swear. All right. Well, get back to where I was here. So we're talking about Night Flight. Really going back. All right. I missed a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump in here because we'll be here for 6 hours otherwise. All right, find something here. Oh, Dead Girl. Yeah, Andy. I thought about doing Dead Girl on the show, but she's naked so much in it that Jay would kill me. Clerks. Yeah, I love Clerks, dude. I love Clerks 2. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Clerks 2. I think Clerks 2 is brilliant, but I also think Freddy Got Fingered is brilliant. So, oh, let's see. Black Sheep. Yeah, Black Sheep was good. I haven't seen the new Candyman. The thing. Oh, Paul. I don't know. Does the thing need a decent remake? Like like Carpenter's The Thing? I think we just leave that alone. Oh, Bad Moon. Thank you. You are right about The Mist. You know what? We're just going to pin that. I just need that for posterity. Nobody ever agrees with me about that. So thank you. Yeah. Look, King endorsed the awful Gunslinger film. King likes Mick Garris's version of The Shining better than Kubrick's. Like, look, I love Steve King. Like, he, read those books way too young. And big fan. Loved the guy for my entire life. But yeah, sometimes his taste is a little suspect. Yeah, the short story ending of The Mist was cool because, like, it's not a happy ending, but it's also an open ending. And I just think that's just like a cooler ending than what we got. So I just did not care. Oh, look, there's another one. NX8. Agreed. The Mist ending is a lame cheap shot. Absolutely. And then Rick, oh my God, I found all my people finally. For years, I've been going around saying, like, the ending of this movie is wrong. It's not good. And people just argue with me about it, like passionately arguing with me about it, like why it's great. And I'm like, it's not. But I've never run into anybody else who thought, Brian too. Oh, I love you guys. Yeah, that's a good point, Christopher. You can just turn it off there and pretend. And Susan too. I feel like we've made an important discovery tonight, guys. I feel vindicated finally that somebody else does not like the ending of The Mist. Steve too. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so happy right now, guys. This is the happiest I've been in weeks. David too. Oh my God, you guys are all coming out. Marie, I have not worked on any horror films. I have never worked in the production of films particularly. Like, I had a friend who made a low budget indie that I did some like production assistant work for him on, like helped him, film some scenes, like super low budget. Like, we filmed shit at his house, like in the backyard and all that. But no. Funnily enough, when I was on Beat the Geeks, one of the prizes, if you beat me, was you get to die in a trauma movie. And Paul Solomoff, who beat me in an episode, actually did get to go be in a trauma movie and die. And then he also does special effects. They kind of turned it into his career. And so I was always jealous. I'm like, oh shit, why can't I go die in a trauma movie? I'd love to do that. Yeah, the Mist audio drama. I forgot about that. You're absolutely right. That's like one of the best audio dramas I've ever heard. Like, it works perfectly in there. Am I big on the Trauma Cineverse? Yes, to a point. I really like Toxic Avenger. I think Sergeant Kabuki Man is ridiculously funny, just because it's such a goofy idea. And then some of the stuff with them is, like, I know someday we're going to do Redneck Zombies, but I don't remember liking it. So, but yeah, I love Lloyd. Lloyd was actually on Beat the Geeks with me for an episode once, and he's a super nice guy. So yeah, I like Trauma. I don't think you can like this stuff and not like Trauma. Like, you can't do this as a career and not love, like, trashy Trauma films. I haven't seen Renfield. I heard it was good though. I'm going to say it. The movie The Shining, not a fan. I think it is overrated and not as great as everybody thinks it is. Well, you're not alone. Steve King also agrees with you, Wombat. And some people don't like Kubrick. I don't know why, but hell if I know why. I love Stanley Kubrick. I think it's a brilliant film, but I think he does a better job with the ending than King did, and yeah. I understand. The only thing about The Shining that King complained about that I agree with for the most part is the casting of Nicholson. Uh, his complaint was he wanted like Moriarty or Christopher Reeve or God, was it John Voight maybe? Like he wanted somebody who was more of an everyman who you could kind of see have this descent into madness in the hotel, and Kubrick was insistent on Nicholson from the start, and Nicholson looks crazy from the start. Like that is a legitimate complaint. I think Jack just runs wild in that role and it works anyway, but I get what King was saying, and that's something that comes up in that Deep Cuts video that's really interesting, is that how two guys who were as diametrically opposite as Kubrick and King were, and they were totally opposite people, that they both could see themselves in the character of Jack Torrance, yet they both saw that character and themselves in such diametrically opposite ways is really fascinating to me. So. All right. The ending of The Mist pissed me off. Yeah, me too, Kelly. Mother's Day. Yeah, we should do that on the show too. Eli broth. One of my greatest puns. Oh, Marco, are you the guy who comments with the GIF of Eli Broth on my Facebook, or is that another? Are you another Eli Broth fan? Some of my best work. Oh, yeah, Marie. I'm assuming this is about Zombie and Eli Roth. Yeah, they're passionate. That's all I want. Like I'm willing to, like making a movie's hard, man. Like making an episode of this stupid show is hard, and it's just me. And like, so you're trying to make a movie. You got 1,000 people working trying to make this big project, and like sometimes they just don't work. But I never feel like Zombie and Roth, whether you like what they do or not, they have a vision when they go into it, and they're trying. And like I will argue all the time that Rob Zombie would be better served to hire someone else to write his movies. Like he's an interesting director in terms of the visuals he creates, especially in something like Lords of Salem has some really interesting, scene compositions in it. But like his weakness is like he's maybe not the guy to write the stories. Like he should offload that to someone else. He should find a writer who he vibes with and let them write it, and then he should direct. But even when they miss, like, I know they wanted to make a great movie, and like when you hire these guys, just some young Hollywood guy who just wants to break into the business and doesn't care about horror movies, they don't really care about the end film beyond like, oh, well, I need it to make money so I can get another job. Zombie doesn't want another job except to make more horror movies. Eli Roth doesn't really want another job other than to make more of these horror movies or these kind of weird, films he's passionate about. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Like I would rather those guys fail than hand them off to some generic USC film school grad all the time. So. Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys like that take. I get in trouble for that one too, because some people are just like, I hate Rob Zombie and I hate Eli Roth and they're everything that's wrong with horror. And I'm like, they've both made some real stinker movies, but at the same time, like, I've said this before, like Zombies Halloween 2, I know people hate it. I call it a disaster piece all the time because it's all over the place, but I honestly, there's parts of it that are brilliant. Like it's the most brilliant slasher movie I've ever seen in terms of being a sequel that shows the PTSD and trauma of what you would surviving a slasher movie would be like. Like those girls are just damaged in that film, and it's painful, and it's feels very real that they're, so broken by what they live through. And like, usually when you see a slasher movie sequel, the final girl comes back, and if she survives past the first 5 minutes, she's like, no big deal. I'm a little traumatized by almost getting decapitated by some guy in a mask, but it's okay. And that film, like, you really feel like these chicks are damaged, and they've been through some kind of real trauma. And I don't think the girl who plays Lori is a great actress even, but I think like the tone of that movie really nails it. I think it's brilliant for that. And I love that Myers is so brutal in that movie. That's just a mean little movie, which is why I probably like it, because I like mean little movies. Yeah, I like Devil's Rejects too. I think Devil's Rejects is, and I get that's one that people will go like, well, this is the shit I don't like about Rob Zombie, like the dialogue and all that. And I get that. Like, it, sometimes it's too much. But again, his heart's in the right place. You gotta cut him some slack. So yeah, see, Hostel, I like. I don't dislike Hostel. I don't like the way that the mainstream press sort of latched on to Hostel and the whole torture porn or Gorno or whatever stupid name they were calling it. That was just like, I think it was an interesting film for its time because it kind of predated the sort of xenophobia we have now, where we're like the rest of the world is a scary place and nobody wants to travel anywhere and all that. But yeah, I don't think it's a landmark film. I totally geeked out when Takashi Miike shows up in it though. I'm easy to please. Just give me a Takashi Miike cameo. I'm good. I love it. Yeah, see? Yeah. Love or hate their films, you got to kind of respect them for at least, their fan. Like, nobody can doubt that Rob Zombie and Eli Roth love horror movies. Like, if you ever saw his Cribs episode, Rob Zombie's, he's got horror movies everywhere. He's got more horror movies than I do. So, dude clearly loves the stuff, and maybe he's got a different take on it sometimes than you or I do, and the projects don't come together, but you can't fault him for trying. His heart's in the right place. Marie, I have not done a live stream horror movie watch because it's a copyright nightmare waiting to happen. I have heard that sometimes if you have a Discord, you can get away with doing it in there. I do not happen to have a Discord, but maybe one of these days I will. So yeah, we haven't done one. Hey, Art, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Back again to mention Inferno. I feel bad when guys keep asking for the movie and I'm like, haven't got to it. I'm just not sure what I'm going to do with Inferno yet, John. I could absolutely do it as a sick flick. I just don't know if I can make it funny enough. That's always my fear. And Suspiria was hard to make funny, and I don't know that I totally succeeded on that one. But yeah, and so that makes me like that has really kind of made me hesitate on Inferno. Beta video, that was the best video. So yeah, Turtle Wars. House of a Thousand Corpses is really interesting because that, like if you were old enough to remember when that was in production, like that was like a lost film for a while. Like he made it and they weren't going to release it, and we didn't know if we were ever going to see it. And then it came out, and like there was so much hype for House of a Thousand Corpses that by the time it came out, like there was just no way it was ever going to live up to people's expectations of what that hype was. And so I remember seeing it and like, I'm like, oh, it's interesting. The first half is interesting. And then the second half, I was like, I'm not really sure I like this. But funnily enough, like sometimes when I'm not sure about a film or I think I don't like it, I will go back and revisit it and see if I come away with a different, like, I just want to know if I like it one way or the other. Either I'm going to watch it again and I'm going to like it, or I'm not, or I'm still undecided. I got to figure it out from there. That one I went back to and watched, and every time I watch it, I like it more. It's sort of like Inferno in the way that every time I see Inferno, even though I've seen it like 30 times, I notice something new that I had never noticed before that makes it like another layer to what Argento was doing. And House of a Thousand Corpses, I don't have that where I discover something new about it every time I see it. But every time I see it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get this a little more. And like, I think part of that's because we're so far removed from the original hype about it and the expectation. And when you just can look at it on its own terms, I think it's interesting. I think it's like typical zombie. It's a very flawed film overall. It's not perfect. It's not even necessarily great, but it does some things really well. And that's what always intrigues me about zombie in particular, is that he's never hit the home run where the perfect film, the really great classic. But man, every movie he does just a little something in there that you're like, oh yeah, I see. This guy's got some kind of talent. If we could just get him with the right people, he could really do something cool. But I don't know that we'll ever get him to like get a writer or anything like that. But yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses has grown on me. Wow. Baz, thank you. I'll have to see if I have it. You may want to email me again. Yeah, see, Kevin. Yeah, they love horror. Like, I don't know. Like, people get pissed at me if I made a horror movie because it wouldn't be like some horror purist would be like, "Oh, who's this fucking guy?" Like, you can't please everybody. Caught a TV marathon of Phantasm. Well, I haven't seen past Phantasm 3, like, because every time in my life I've ever tried to watch Phantasm 3, I fall asleep about 30 minutes in, which is not necessarily a commentary on Phantasm 3 so much as it is that every time I try to watch it, it was late at night. So I've never made it past 3. But I love 1. What's funny is, like, for a long time I thought like I really liked 2 the most, and then when I came back to do it for the Sick Flicks episode, I still like it, but I really prefer the first film. Like, the first film just has like that weird Italian horror, even though it's not Italian, dreamlike vibe to it. That's just like, there's just something about it that's like, it just feels off, which is cool. It's got like this sort of hazy, dreamlike. Is it a dream? Is it not a dream? It's got like an Inception quality, like 30 years before Inception type thing. So yeah, I like the first one a lot. The Ugly, yes, I've seen The Ugly. That Ragdoll, The Ugly was like, so back in the old days when I used to lurk and hang out in alt horror a lot, which if you're not 100 years old was like the old days of the internet. You went on news groups, which were like curated message boards. And alt horror back around, I don't know, 99 or 2000, really, like, people were really into The Ugly. And so I saw it and I remember liking it, although I didn't love it quite the same way everyone did at the time. Like, people were really kind of gaga over it, and I thought it was pretty good, but I've not seen it since. So, but yeah, definitely seen that one. One of the cool serial killer flick, like a weird serial killer flick. So definitely, if you ever get a chance to see it, it's worth checking out. Is there any new horror actors or icons? I don't know. Like, shit. Are we going with like Mia Goth? Like, I don't know. Like, those are, or what's her name? Ortega. Like, I guess we've got some, some scream queens, sort of. Will they stand the test of time? Will they go on to something else? Will they stay in the genre? I don't know. I was just saying to someone that I couldn't really name any. Yeah, Andrew, this is me. Like, I have to go like look up who these people are. I can talk about obscure Italian character actors all day, but like the kids in horror movies now, I don't know who they are. I've become my parents. Oh. All right, let's see what we got. Missed anything over here? No, good. Okay. 5 channels, LL and 3. Yeah, well, so we had more because I lived near Pittsburgh. And so, but I was sort of centrally located where, again, we had the antenna. You could get Pittsburgh, you could get stuff from like Wheeling, West Virginia, and you could get stuff from like Youngstown, Canton, Cleveland, like if the weather was really good. Yeah. So that's the only way. Like, and really, it was hard to get anything beyond the 3 main channels most days. But sometimes we could get like the UHF channels, which is where I wanted to be. Toby Hooper is dead. I'm glad we cleared that up. I can't believe I didn't remember. I remember Gunner being dead, but not Toby. And 2017, that's like 6 years ago already. It's crazy. All right. Am I all caught up? Oh no, I think I jumped. I thought I caught up. I was all excited. I should have known better. I was like, how did I catch up? That can't possibly be. Oh yeah, I'm way back here. All right. This is what kills me is this friggin' chat. Like it jumps and then I can't get back to where I was because it's so far back. Let's see. We'll just jump in here. Yeah, Rob Zombie, awesome director, not a gifted screenwriter, but a fan and love him, but can't write scripts. Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't think he's a terrible screenwriter. I think he's got an aesthetic, that American redneck aesthetic, and like for the movies like Devil's Rejects where that sort of fits, I think it mostly works. But when you try to put that into like the first Halloween, it just feels wrong. It feels forced. Like, and that's coming from a guy, like I said, I like both of Zombies Halloweens, especially the first one was funny because I expected to hate it. I thought Rob Zombie doing Halloween was going to be a disaster, and I thought I'm going to go see it, and I will like the things he did that were just direct remakes of what Carpenter did, and I'll probably hate all the stuff he added. And it actually turned out to be the exact opposite. I hated all the stuff where he felt like he had to do exactly what Carpenter had kind of done in the original, and the stuff that he added of his own mostly worked, except for some of the dialogue. So, but like the idea of, them being like not like an upstanding family in the Haddonfield community, but kind of like a trashy, rednecky clan living in the suburbs type thing, mostly worked. Like it was an interesting, different take on the Strodes or the Myerses rather. But yeah, but some of the rednecky dialogue was not great. See what we got here. Rob Zombie seems to want to be as mean spirited as possible. Yeah, he does. And as a guy who likes mean spirited movies, I'm okay with that. like I like mean movies. So yeah. Room 237 is really an awesome documentary about The Shining. It's yeah, like the things that people read into Stanley's films is endlessly fascinating to me. So, David, another big fan of his Halloween too. Yeah, I look, I've never made any bones about it. I love it. I know it has a ton of problems, like Ghost Mom and the horse and all that shit is just goofy and totally just awful. Like doesn't fit. But like I said, the idea of trauma and all that he's just he really nails it. Like it feels like the most real slasher follow-up I've ever seen. So, and I appreciate it for that because it's mean. It's not a pleasant film. Oh no, you like 3, 4, and 5 Voodoo. What? I like the first half hour 4. I'll cop to that. Halloween 4, the first half hour. I love the scene of fucking Pleasance and the crazy preacher in the truck. That's a brilliant scene. They should have just made the whole movie those two riding around getting drunk, fighting evil. I had to watch the hell out of that. Yep, Rob Zombie's always going to bring you some extra sex and some extra gore. And as as a gore hound, I'm cool with that. 31 wasn't bad. Like, I've only seen it once, but like, and I don't remember a whole lot about it, so it wasn't like it was great, but it was, it was serviceable. I thought it was okay. Yeah, Terror Train 2 is another one that kind of gets that right. That's a good call, Brie. I agree with you. I haven't seen that in a long time either. I thought about doing Terror Train at one point, and then I think James or someone did it, and so I had to postpone it. What's my favorite Italian zombie movie? Well, I'm gonna say okay, the obvious answer is Cemetery Man, which I already talked about. But Cemetery Man is kind of its own unique thing. It's like so much more than a zombie movie. It's like a romance, and it's an art film, and it's a zombie movie, and it's it's like sort of surrealist. And so if we're just talking like straight hardcore Italian zombie gut munching good shit, Fulci Zombie is the main answer. Because I don't consider The Beyond a straight zombie movie. If we want to go because The Beyond has zombies in it, then it's The Beyond. But zombie gets the vote. But I really also love Burial Ground, which just because it's so absurd, and Peter Bark and Mariangela Giordano are in it, and that's just such a crazy movie that it makes me crack up every time I watch it. So, but zombie for sure, for sure. Yeah, I like Lords of Salem a lot, actually. Bad Moon. 30, yeah, I mean, 31 was okay, but I think Lords of Salem is like maybe his most underrated film, I think, because it's again, doesn't stick the landing, doesn't do everything perfectly, but it's got a lot of cool visuals, it's got a lot of interesting ideas. And again, if he'd hired a writer, he might have made a classic. Instead, he just made a really good cult film. But hey, that's cool. Yes, I remember Dark Room, Scott Bakula. Holy crap. I'm glad someone else does. Funny thing about that. So like in the 80s when that show came out, it wasn't on very long, right? It was only on for, I don't know if it was even on for 2 seasons. I remember I had a friend whose parents bought our old house, and we moved to a new house, and sometimes I would go stay overnight with him at my old house. And so one night it was snowing and it was cold. It was the middle of winter, and we're there and we're by the fireplace and the lights are off, and that friggin' show came on with that opening with I forget who the actor is who does the voiceover for it, but it's creepy as fuck, and it just scared the shit out of me. I must have been like 8, and like I couldn't even, like, the opening of the show was too scary for me. And I went back and found it like a couple years ago. Like I think it was on YouTube or something, like the opening. And I'm like, yeah, this is still kind of scary. That is like a trip down memory lane. I'm glad. And I never run into anyone who remembers that show. Like I even saw like somewhere had screen captures of old TV guides from when it debuted. So yeah, Razorback is a classic. Like Russell Mulcahy did a lot with very little money. You could tell he was a music video director before he made it, and then he gave us Highlander, the greatest film of all time. So, oh goodness, yeah, High Tension got labeled in there. Yeah, like. I can't say the P word too many times. Torture P. Well, guys, you got to tell me if I have low volume. I'm just catching up on comments. Hopefully it's loud enough now. Yes, louder. Got to turn down. God, you guys kill me. You know you have volume on your end, right? Good night, Wombat. Thanks for stopping by. Matt, I have not seen Terrifier 2 yet. I have it. It's sitting on my desk. Every time I want to go sit down and watch it, I'm like, this is 2.5 hours. And I'm like, nope. I nope right out of it every time. And I love Art the Clown, but what do you think of Hobo with a Shotgun? Well, I think I was going to do it on Sick Flicks sometime soon, probably. I've been putting it off for a long time, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then what happened was, oh God, the guy who made that, I can't think of his name now, had Kids versus Aliens came out, which I haven't watched yet either. And I'm like, oh shit, that's Hobo with a Shotgun guy. I'm like, oh shit, I should do that. So yeah, I think at some point in the not too distant future this year, we're going to get a Hobo with a Shotgun video. After Green Inferno, I'm so happy to remove Ross. But again, like, I can't get mad at him about Green Inferno because look, he's a guy who had seen Cannibal Holocaust. Like, he at least knew what he was making. Like, he loves those movies. And so, like, obviously, like, I never had any expectation that he was going to make a great cannibal movie because he was making it for a studio. And the studios aren't going to let him make a an Italian cannibal movie. As much as I love the idea of, Brad Pitt being eaten by cannibals, like, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I if anybody were going to try to make an American version of an Italian cannibal movie, who was going to do it better? Like, even though it doesn't work perfectly, who else would we get to do it? So my argument then is either we let Eli Roth do it because he loves the stuff and at least knows it and is going to try to stay true to what, the Italians were doing, or we just don't do it at all. And I'm actually okay with not doing it at all. But if they were going to do it, like, that was our best shot. Like, I don't know who else we'd have hired other than me. But I'm not a director, but like, I knew enough to, like, I'd probably make a pretty good cannibal movie if you let me. But yeah, I don't know. So, Antoinette, I haven't played Dead Island 2. I like Dead Island 1 a lot, though. I'm the reason why I got a Game of the Year edition, the original, which cracks me up every time I would go into a GameStop and somebody would go, why did this piece of shit get a Game of the Year edition? Who voted this Game of the Year? And I'm like, me on my podcast. Going to bed at 9 on a Saturday sounds like me. Yeah, I can relate. Yeah, David, that is the story that's out there, that he is going to finally turn the Thanksgiving trailer into a full-length movie. He's been trying to do it for years, but yeah. Have you considered going full dwarf mode and planting your beard and carrying a hammer? Well, I've thought of going full Viking mode and doing the Viking braid and all that, but I'm just too lazy. I'm too tall to go dwarf mode. I'm like 6 foot. I'd carry a hammer, though. Kevin Miles, Lord of Illusions. Yeah, I love Lord of Illusions. So, I tweeted about this like a month ago, like how great Nyx is in that movie. Daniel von Bargen. I love Nyx. That's one of Barker's low key. I know we all love Pinhead, right? But Nyx is a great villain as well, who probably should have gotten more love. And Lord of Illusions will always have a soft spot in my heart because I love Barker's Harry Diamore character. Like, when he turns up in Everville and some of the other books and Scarlet Gospels, like, I like that character. I wish Barker had done more with him. I wish we'd gotten more movies with him. Yeah, so I literally saw Lord of Illusions in the theater like 6 times when it came out. Like, we just go see it over and over and over. I love Takashi Miike too. That guy's the best. I got caught watching El Super Beasto at work. Wow. What was the outcome of that Greatest Toys Ever Made? I can't even imagine. Hopefully it was on your personal computer or phone and not the company network. Oh, yeah, Michael McGinn. Yeah, pretty safe to say Mystery Science Theater had a pretty profound influence on me. I say all the time, like, I should be paying those guys royalties. It's really funny because Walter Chaw, my friend who's a film critic, did a night of trivia with the Mads and Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank, and I was like so jealous. I was like so jelly. I told him, I'm like, Walter, I'm so jelly. Like, you got to tell him how much I love them. And I literally have in the other room a life-size crow puppet and a fully functional servo. I have both. And I've always been like, they need to be on the set in here, and I've just never gotten them onto the set. But yeah, I've been a Mystery Science Theater fan since Comedy Central in the early 90s. Like, the minute I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they made this show. This is a show for me. Like, they literally made this thing for me, because I am just like a pop culture sponge of like obscure references. And so, like, guys talking, all those arcane references to TV and movies and commercials, and like, I know them. And so, yeah, a huge fan. Absolutely. I owe them money. I absolutely owe them money. Yeah, Mother of Tears is one I could probably make funny for sure. Yeah, Lord of Illusions. I don't even think of it as a guilty pleasure. I just like it. I just flat out like it. So, Nightbreed's great too. Sure. Nick, yeah, I love horror video games. I love video games in general. Like, I'm as into video games as I am rap music and horror movies. I like, everybody's always like, oh, we want to see your movie collection. And like, my movie collection is not that impressive anymore because I downsized dramatically, like when I moved back to Florida, and and then everything went digital, and I was kind of like, I'm just gonna have stuff on streaming. And then when I started doing the show, I started buying a bunch of movies again. But like, I have a massive video game collection. Like, my video game collection dwarfs the movie collection. Like, there's seriously, like, in my other office, there's like 2,000 video games in there. So horror, I love JRPGs. I love action RPGs. I like shooters. I don't care for like Call of Duty or any of that. I'm more of like I like more like sci-fi story-driven shooters type things. But yeah, like, dude, I still play Phantasy Star Online, like on a private server, like a game from 1999. Like, that's fun for me. So Nick, who was here earlier, my friend, plays PSO with me. If you ever want to play PSO, you should come play PSO with me, because I need more people to play with. But yes, I love horror video games. I love video games in general. I've been a gamer. Like, we had a console when I was a child that literally was just a Pong console. Like, all it played was Pong. Like, before the 2600, all that stuff. So yeah, I have been a gamer for my entire life. I will never put down the controller. A company doing an Argento clothing line. That sounds terrible. Like, I can't really imagine that. Hey, Billy, I'm glad you like the show. And I'm glad you like the beard. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, Mike is amazing, because that guy's a cottage industry unto himself. Like, he just cranks out movies. They're good. And he's never been pigeonholed into one genre. You get a musical like Happiness of the Katakuris. You'll get some messed up thing like Visitor Q. You'll get a quasi horror movie like Audition. Then you'll get a samurai movie like the 13 Assassins. Like, the guy's just, he can't make a bad movie. Like, he just, like, you'd think as much as he makes, just the law of averages would dictate that he'd make some crap somewhere along the line. But I have like, even, like Gozu and all that, like, he just makes good movies, and he makes so many. Voodoo. I don't think we've ever really talked about Cabin in the Woods on here. I liked it. I've only seen it once. I'm curious if I would how I would feel about it going back, knowing what the twist is. I think like when you get to the end of it, the first time through, when you don't know what the twist is, it's like really interesting. And I don't know if it would hold up as much knowing how it plays out the second time. But yeah, I liked it at the time. Rubbing Salt in the Wound was also in The Loved Ones. Yeah, I think it was. That's a good movie too. Sounds like Mario Bava 710. Bava's got better scripts than Rob Zombie. Yeah, if we're giving Bava a 7 of 10 on scripts and a 20 of 10 on cinematography, yeah, I'd probably give Zombie like a 5 of 10. A Killer Beard movie. You guys kill me. The last movie to actually give me a fright or sense of dread. Fright, I don't know, because it's been since I was a kid. Like I'm completely desensitized to horror movies at this point. Like, and I have been for a long time, just because I watch so many. Like, there was a quote one time from like Peter Straub that like they asked him about reading other horror fiction and did it ever scare him, and he's like I like to read other horror fiction, but not because I'm looking for something that scares me or impacts me, but I'm really just interested in looking to see if the other writers can dance. And that's kind of how I feel about like, horror movies now. I love them still, but they don't have the intended effect of like scaring me for the most part or anything like that. I'm really just looking at like, hey, does this guy get like the rhythm of how you make this stuff scary or gory or, stuff like that. But, yeah. So, you know what, actually, this is funny. The one that always gives me a weird sense of dread, which is going to make people laugh because it's not a particularly scary movie and it's a very divisive movie, but the Poughkeepsie Tapes makes me want to lock my doors every time I watch it. Like I have to, like, I'm like, oh, I better make sure the house is locked up because there are people like this out there running around, breaking into houses and abducting people and shit like that. So yeah, the Poughkeepsie Tapes, and it's so weird because there's plenty of other movies like Home Invasion and shit like that, and they don't generally have any impact. Like I'm like, oh, that's cool, but yeah, something about the Poughkeepsie Tapes always gives me like that. Like, ooh, I better make sure all the doors are locked tonight before I go to bed. I'm a big wimp. Billy H still hitting the gym. Damn right, brother. Yeah, we're in. As I mentioned at the top, I'm on a cut. I've been on a cut since like November of last year. I'm down like 30 pounds. I'm trying to, I'd like to compete this year at the end of the year, maybe. And I'm trying to compete in like the 220 class instead of the 240 class. So I got some more weight to lose. I'm at the end of a 6-month block of training. So, I was doing really well. And then we had deadlifts, triples at like 445 3 weeks ago. And on rep 2, I didn't tear it. I popped my hamstring and it popped so loud that you could hear it pop like in the room. Like it wasn't just like I could hear it. You could literally hear my hamstring pop, which set me back for like 2 weeks. And then just the losing weight has really sort of impacted my top end lifts. So, we're in the peaking cycle, so I'm going to have to eat more. But we should be on course. I've got 3 more weeks of peak and then max testing. If everything goes well, I should probably deadlift 520. I'm not going to get a 500 squat. I don't think I have a 500 squat in me right now. I think if I get like 475, it'd be a win. And bench is a complete mystery because my bench was just fucking grooving. I was looking at like a month ago, the numbers were like, you're going to have like a 365 bench at the end of May. And with the diet right now, I'm thinking like 325 is going to be like maybe like 315 for sure, 3 plates. But I don't know about anything. 335 I'd be impressed. So it's still hitting the gym, but the one day is different than the next, and some days you do really well and some days the lifts suck. Plus, I'm 50. Like, it's hard to recover. YouTube reviewers making movies never ends well. Yeah, well, so yeah. Well, to be fair, like a lot of those guys have no business making movies. I think yeah. I don't have any burning desire to make a movie. I'm not a film director. I'm a writer. I could absolutely write a movie. I could write a novel. I've written a novel. I've written several. So I could do that, but yeah, you won't see me making a movie. You might see me write one someday, but not making one. No, Archangel 13. I have not reviewed Dead Alive. I love Dead Alive, but the problem with that is that, like in the US, it's the Lionsgate release, and they're gonna claim it, and I'm gonna have to fight it out. But the bigger issue is like the movies that are already kind of funny are hard to do because they're already funny, and that one is funny, and it's so splattery that I don't know how I could show enough of the climax to make the video work in like the sick flicks format. Like, you have to show the stuff to make the jokes, and like there's so much splatter in the end of that movie that there's literally 50-gallon drums of blood and body parts everywhere, and I don't think we could do it without at the very least getting demonetized, and worse, getting age gated and community guideline shit. So I don't know that we'll ever do that one, not because I don't want to, but because there are a lot of challenges with it. In the same vein, like, we'll probably never do a Serbian film because it's just like there's no way to show enough of it, and plus it's long, and I think it's overrated. Yes, Mike's beard becomes a serial killer, but Mike himself is not. I kind of like that. The beard murders while I'm asleep. Your beard is great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The Last Shift. I still haven't seen that. I've had it in my like queue to watch for forever, and I've never seen it. Phantom of the Paradise is good. I actually have that on Blu-ray somewhere. God, Monster 88, I'm so with you. The Last Shark needs a Blu-ray. Yes, yeah. Dude, I wanted to do The Last Shark for forever. And it's so weird because I don't think we'll ever get a Blu-ray because of the legal issue. And yet we got Cruel Jaws for a little bit, even though they had to take it down eventually. And yet The Last Shark you can stream on Amazon. So, yeah, I like need to, and it's a pretty good it's a good copy over there too. It's not like a shitty copy. Oh, sorry, I'm bumping the mic. I think I thought oh, we should just go capture it from Amazon, which they do not like, but you can do. But it's a pain, and I don't want to deal with it. So we've never done it. But yeah, I have wanted to cover that movie from day one. Like, that's been top of list movie I wanted to cover, and it's just not easy to get a copy to cover. So, Brandon, thank you. I'm glad you look forward to them. I look forward to them too. I mean, like, sometimes writing them, I'm not looking forward to them, but I always like Wednesday when I get to just sit back and come to the premiere and see what people laugh at and what they don't laugh at, and so. Do any of you remember news groups? Christ, I'm old. Yeah, news groups are a definite relic of the internet. This is how far I'm behind on chat. We're talking about news groups. That was like 20 minutes ago. Jesus, God help us. Sven Gulli. No, I never catch Joe Bob either, because I'm always doing something. I miss Sven Gulli and Joe Bob. I should make it a habit to try to catch them more often. All right. Billy, thank you. Best horror movie review channel. I take that as a huge compliment because, as I mentioned earlier, there are some very good ones on this platform. Oh, he's doing Destroy All Monsters. Oh, that's a good one, too. Huh. All right. What else have I got here? What else have we got? I'm trying to catch up here. Oh my God, your beard is magnificent. Well, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. Scott, you're from Philly. I'm from the other side of Pennsylvania. 5 channels, sheesh, fancy. That's me living the high life. 5 channels. Oh, what happened? I just lost my thing again. Damn it. All right, we have to skip ahead again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I love that there's so much chat. I wish I was not so rambly that I could keep up with it. Do I listen to any creepypasta on YouTube? No. Not because I don't like it. I just don't have time. Yeah, I think that stuff's cool. Although I do sympathize sometimes with the that sort of struggle that people are like, well, I wrote this and now some guy is reading it on YouTube and monetizing my work. I wish there were a better way for to make sure the authors got paid for that stuff. But I like it though. I just don't and I like to watch like Mr. Ballin and all that too, but I don't have time a lot of times I can't keep up with it all. I could watch YouTube all day and I'd never make videos. I had Atari. Yeah, we had Atari too, but we literally had a Magnavox Pong console before that. Was the first thing we ever had. And then we didn't have an Atari. My uncle bought an Atari, and so we played that. And we got a Magnavox Odyssey too, which was cooler in some ways, but didn't have the cool games. Like it had a keyboard and shit, but it had a Pac-Man ripoff called Casey Munchkin, which was not good. Blair Witch Project still creeps me out. Blair Witch Project is super divisive, and I've always liked it. I always thought it was cool. I get why people don't like it. Like, I get why people don't like found footage. I understand, but I like found footage, so Blair Witch is fine by me. Poughkeepsie Tapes is the best investigation discovery. Exactly. It's like an episode of Forensic Files. Those are literally all the video games I played in an arcade in the back of Kmart in the late 1980s. God, I miss arcades. We got an age check. I'm 50. Nice, fan. I am 50. Oh, the ET game. Yeah, I remember my uncle getting the ET game. We were like so hyped to get it, and he brings it home and to my grandparents' house where the Atari is, and we fire it up, and it's like, what the hell is this? The St. Francisville project. That's funny. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 90% sure that Paul Salamoff, who I was talking about earlier, who beat me on Beat the Geeks, actually was involved in that film. I have not seen it though. Oh, I love that you do these live streams and actually acknowledge us. Well, shit, John, I love you guys. Yeah, I say this all the time. Like, I don't understand creators on this platform who don't interact with their audience. Like, I get it. 99.9% of commenters are great. And then there's that 0.1 who are kind of dicks or, well, actually guys or jerks or whatever, or just malcontents. And I get, like if you have 1 million subs, 0.1 suddenly becomes like 10,000 people, and that's a lot of crap to deal with. But at the same time, like, I'm like, you guys are why I do this. Like, if nobody watched, I'd quit. Like, what would be the point of continuing to do this? So I am incredibly grateful that anybody pays attention to my nonsense, that anybody comes to these streams, that anybody buys merch, that anybody wants to see me at a con, that anybody wants to hear what I think about anything, because like, I'm a recluse, man. I live here in Florida. I don't leave the house a whole bunch. I like to stay home and play video games and goof off, basically, and lift weights. But to get to come out here and chit chat with a couple hundred people who like this shit and like my show and know this stuff like I do and love it like I do, like, this is great. I can't imagine not wanting to talk to my audience. So I wish it's gotten really hard to keep up with the comments. there's just like there are so many comments at this point on the videos that I still go through and try to heart them all, so I read them and saw them. I wish I had time to answer more of them. I used to answer a lot more, and it's hard now only because we're trying to make so many shows and so many episodes and all this stuff. So I'm failing on that front in terms of answering and responding to comments, and I wish I wasn't. But like these live streams, man, I try to do one every month so that everybody can just come hang out. Like, I don't have any big plans for them or anything like that. I'm always like, oh, I should do like some kind of show and make it cooler. But if everybody's cool just to hang out and shoot the shit with me, I love it. So thank you. Thank you for coming to these things. Without you guys, I don't do this. I just go do something else. Huge Tsukamoto fan. Me too. Tetsuo, have you ever seen Snake of June? That's a good one of his. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Kmart is sorely missed. We still had one until just like a couple years ago. I stuck my head in a deep fryer once. Jesus, was it on? Are you okay, Hop? I'm worried about you now. Yeah, VHS score lock. I've seen the first two. I've not seen the 3 or 4. I really like certain episodes of 1 and 2. The one in part 2 where they're at the cult temple thing is fantastic, and I think that was the guy who made The Night Comes for Us, I think, but don't hold me to that. But yeah, I like those. They're uneven because they're anthology films, but both of the 2 I've seen have had good things. Like the first one has that last story that the Radio Silence guys did that's really good. Like the alien thing is really solid, and then like I said, the second one has the cult temple thing, which is really good. Matt, 325. It's a nice bench, but like I've literally had a 365, and I was honest to God gonna get 405 like a year and a half ago, and I just got injured. And it's just been I have a poverty bench, basically. Like it's the lift I struggle with the most. I have long arms, so it's not a mechanically it's not a strong lift for me. So 325 I'm not happy about, but I know like in the grand scheme of things it's a nice bench. But like I won 405. I honest to God, the whole thing is this year I was like, I'm 50, I'm in like Masters 2, I'm going to go compete, and I could legitimately break the state records for Masters 2. I need like a 600 deadlift, 600 squat, and a 405 bench, and I think I beat all 3 last I looked in one of the divisions. And before I got injured and all that, I was very much on pace to do that. And I came back, and after I took 10 months off because I was kind of had these little nagging injuries, and I came back and things were going really well. And then, like I started losing weight, which was by design, but and then I, blew out the hamstring, and it's like everything's been kind of a mess since then. So I really thought we'd have like 355 at the end of this block. So 320, being 30 pounds under is going to be all but impossible to get to a 405 this year. And like I'm racing father time at this point. So how many times a week do I bench? We bench twice, but it's not. So the current program I run, we bench Mondays. I bench competition bench, which loose competition bench. Like we're not doing like sometimes it's reps, high reps, lower weight. So, it's like an RPE 7 or something like that. So it's, you're getting like 8 or 10 reps, and it's not like, we're not doing commands. We're not pausing at the bottom for a long time or anything like that. And then, so that's competition bench day. And then there are also some accessories. There's usually, either an incline dumbbell or a flat dumbbell, or, some kind of bench accessory. And then on Thursdays, we bench again, except that it's close grip usually, or the cambered football bar or something like that to kind of change the focus a bit. But I don't like to bench more than like 2 days a week. Like we get into when I get into like more volume than that, I tend to like tweak shit. And so this is why when I trained before, I trained a lot of Bulgarian, and so we benched 5 days a week, and we squatted 5 days a week, and we deadlifted 3 days a week, and it was great, except that the benching, like when you get if I bench 5 times a week and they're all like singles or doubles, it's fine. But when we get into those days where I'm doing like RPE7 shit and it's like 10 and it's like 4 sets and I'm doing like 40, so I'm benching like 40 times, I do way better with high weight, low volume than low weight, high volume. Like I tend to injure more stuff at the higher reps. And I'm totally in that Dave Tate school of, I see guys all the time get hurt doing 3s and 5s, and I don't see guys get hurt nearly as much doing 1s and 2s. And yet I always let these coaches talk me into doing 3s and 5s and 7s. So powerlifting is a young man's game to a point like that, but there's some strong, like, dude, I'm a strong guy at 50, and there are guys at my age who are stronger than me. So, it depends. Especially like in actual like if you get into strongman, so there's some real strong older dudes in there. Hey Rick, thank you. Hello from Florida. I appreciate the super chat. Shane Dawson films were cringe. Yeah, I'm with you. Daniel, you're 71. Holy cow. I love it. Someone older than me. You're the guy who shows up in my over 65 demographic chart. Oh goodness. All right, let me just jump through here. I'm going to have to go in a few minutes. I'm running out of voice. I don't know how you can show it off the climax. Hell yeah. I like when I get trolled with my own memes. I say things every day that are unintentional. Hell yes. It's like all day. I have not done Deranged. It is a good one. So 1974 tells you why I haven't done it. Generally speaking, anything older than like 77 struggles, which is why I'm really curious to see how Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires is going to do, because it's literally a 74. But like when we did like Blood Feast and stuff like that, I thought like these are important films and they're older, but they're not that old. But like to me, they don't seem that old. But like to these kids, they're 50 years old, those movies. So yeah, it's like, and even though my audience skews older on YouTube, like a lot of my audience is like 35 to 54. Those older movies just for some reason don't draw an audience, which sucks because I wanted to do all the Coffin Joe stuff, and I wanted to do all the H.G. Lewis stuff, and I like lots of early 70s stuff. So that doesn't mean we're not going to do them, but I like have to, like, the channel for me is also a business. Like it costs me money to run, so I have to think about like, how is there a chance for these movies to break even, which is all I try to do most weeks. Like if we make money, it's great, but a lot of weeks it's just like, can we just break even with the cost of editing and equipment and the buying the discs and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so anytime we get to those ones that are kind of like earlier than like 79, I really have to think about them. So Andy, what shows? I'm behind, man. This is an out of context one for me. I don't know what you're saying shows. Oh, goodness. No, Brad, I have not seen Grizzly 2 yet. It's funny, though, because the guys who made it fucking copyright claimed the Grizzly review. Solo, love to. I have a ton to say about Solo, because I think it's like a weird masterpiece. I think what will happen with Solo is I don't think it'll be a sick flick. I think it will be a deep cut or easier to do on B movie Babylon without me, having to show a bunch of questionable footage. Yeah, it was obsessed with doo doo. 39 forever. Yeah, it's me too. All right, we jump. Oh man, I jumped again. Damn it. What about Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell? Because that's a good one. Seems like Trauma would have some weightlifting gore. Yeah, we need more weightlifting gore. Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell was good for that, although I was a little suspect about the lifting. Missed ending sucks shirt. I'm trying to get you guys a house establishing shot one. Don't give me too many things, man. All right. Chuck, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Chuck. Dude, that's awesome. 46. Chuck's been around forever. Chuck's an old school. He's an OG. He's a horror geek OG. All right. Yeah, Black Christmas is pre-75. I haven't done Black Christmas, though. I love the old stuff, too. This is the weird thing about YouTube is like, I try to do what I think people will want to see. And I'll be honest with you, as the channel gets bigger, I have no fucking clue what people want to see anymore. So now I just kind of do what I want to do, and just let it fall where it may. But in the past, yeah, it was always like, I had a better idea of what you guys wanted to see. But like when you start getting up the numbers we're at now, that's a lot of people. And there's like, they come in for different things, and, it's impossible to get something that's going to resonate with everybody. But I just noticed trends from looking at things over time. And we just see every time we do a movie from like the 70s, it tends to underperform. And it's not because they're bad movies. I think it's just because there's this stigma online that anything that older than 10 years ago is ancient and nobody wants to watch it. And I know that because I hear these kids talking about movies and, like stuff that was made in, 2003 is like dinosaurs. So I don't know. But it makes it hard because, again, like I say, I try to pick things that I want to do and that I think will resonate with the audience, but I don't know what anybody wants anymore. Like, and it's not even, I can't even listen to you guys because when I do one that you guys ask for a bunch, it doesn't do well either. Spidey. We've tried that. Like, I will literally ask people, people will hammer me. Like, prime example, original Evil Dead. People wanted me to do Evil Dead for forever. And I said, no, because whenever we do something that's that mainstream, yeah, see, Amy, none of my friends want to attend live stream on the Horror Geeks channel because I'm like your granddad. But when we do that, like Evil Dead, people want it, but it's too popular. Like my audience, everybody, it came out and it struggled to get 18,000 views, and like because but people wanted it, but then they don't watch it. So you just can't. I can't. I just have to just keep guessing every week. So because I've literally tried doing what people ask for, and that never ends well. That has never ended well. What was the other one that was like, Sleepaway Camp was another one. People were like, do Sleepaway Camp, and tanked. So, am I excited for Elden Ring DLC? Yes. I'm excited for anything Elden Ring. Yeah, Blood Feast was a good one. It's a good movie. But yeah, I think, and I get it. Like that one looks its age. Like the gore is pretty primitive, but yeah, I have not shown Toxic Zombies. All right, good is good no matter how old. That's not up for debate. That's absolutely true. The issue is good, but you also have to find things that people want to watch, and there's just a weird stigma that the younger generation has about things that are over 10 years old. Like this is why we end up with like remakes of movies from 7 years ago. I'm here for the wrestling. I'm sorry. I've let you guys down on the wrestling talk tonight. I'm sorry. Videos with suggestive lines do well almost every time. Sometimes, not always. That's the problem. Like, so, like sometimes you'll look at a channel as an example. Big Will, that guy, does he does the brutality of, right? Every video is like the brutality of whatever movie. And that works for him for whatever reason. And I watched his videos. He does a nice job. I'm not saying he doesn't do a nice job. I'm not saying anything about the title. I'm just saying that like for him, that title works. It works every time. He puts up a video, they get he generally gets a lot of views on those videos. But sometimes like when we find things that work and they work for a while and then they don't. And I just haven't found the right thing, or maybe there's not a right thing. Maybe it's just like every week we have to reinvent the wheel and come up with something new, and that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with that, but like at the same time, I have to look at everything analytically from the channel perspective because it takes time and money and all that to make this stuff. So, I really try to pick based on and it's funny because we had a sponsor just go through this with us like, well, we want you to give us a video that's going to do well. And it's like, well, what the fuck do you think I'm doing? Do you think I put out videos that I think are going to suck? Like, like I want every video to do well. That's how the game works. But yeah, so I don't know, but it's interesting because like you see YouTube is just it's a different experience for every channel. Like some guys have something that they get into that works. Some guys that luck into something that works. Some people never make it work. And some people, some things work and you have to keep reinventing as you go. And in a lot of ways, I like that we have to keep reinventing because, I would get bored. If, there are still times where I'm like, I've done this for 4 years. I've done sick flicks for 4 years and I still love to do it. But I'm like, will I love to do it in another 6 years or will I want to do something different? And, you don't want to necessarily get stuck in a rut. And I think if I had one of those channels where I just could like crank out a variation of the same title every week and it would do okay, I would probably get bored. So in some ways, it's probably for the best that I don't know what's always going to work or not going to work. And so I get to play around with it. So it's like an A/B test every week. And as a guy who worked in marketing, I like a good A/B test. So yeah, a lot of people, Brad, love the 80s and 90s direct-to-video stuff. I love to do those. I love to do the older stuff. I love to do it all. Like this is the funny thing. Like somebody got on me the other day about like that I was mean to these movies. And it's like, I'm not mean to these movies. I point out their flaws and their silliness and make jokes about them. But I legitimately like almost every movie we've covered on Sick Flicks. And that's 200 and some movies. The only one, like I would go like, well, I don't like Motel Hell as much as everybody else does. And I don't really have a big fondness for Chud, but like everything else, I like, when people are always like, I can't believe you threw yourself on this grenade for us. And I'm like, when it's a Claudio Fragasso movie, I'm like, shit, I love Claudio Fragasso. I love these stupid movies. So, so yeah, so I love it all, but, yeah, it's just weird. I don't, Yeah, that Twitter guy didn't get. Yeah, Steve. He didn't get it at all. Like, I don't even. Oh, dude, I love things, Jeff. Like, it's so bad, it's amazing. I like can't. Like, I love that shit. Like it's just like I'm fascinated by the idea. Like, how did this even happen? Like, what were they thinking? How drunk were they when they made things? Yes, Brad. I was just thinking about you and Alligator 2 this week. Oh, you don't have to watch things. You can just watch the things video. You'll get the gist. Yes, but Alligator 2 is coming for you. I have to buy it still. I haven't bought it yet. I'm like, I know I promised him I was going to do that, and I'm going to do it. So yes, it is going to happen. Oh goodness, you guys. Yeah, that Twitter guy cracked me out. He didn't get it at all. He's like, oh, this guy, and it was so funny too because it was Silent Rage that he was complaining about, and it's like, dude, we're gonna argue. You're gonna complain that somebody made fun of Silent Rage, like, yeah, Chuck. That's it for me. It is like I literally love this stuff. Like, no irony. It's not an ironic love. It's not a hipster love. It's not like a trying to be contrarian and cool love. I have loved this shit my entire life. You don't spend 20 years writing about this crap and then YouTubing about it and all this stuff and like knowing all this crap about these movies that nobody knows anything about if you don't love it. And so, and yeah, I love it. I never made any bones about it. I will tell you, like, I will not argue that these movies are great cinema, but they're great entertainment, and that's all I want. So Even Things falls in that category for me. It's entertaining in its ineptitude, and I have a lot of respect for people who make movies because I know how hard it is to create something, and a movie is so complicated with so many moving parts that you're like, well, shit, a million things could go wrong. So that if you even make a movie, no matter how bad it is, even something like Manos or Things or, The Room, like, that's still an accomplishment. And, so I don't know. It's just funny. Yeah, Ninja 3. I am so excited to talk about Ninja 3 on B Movie Babylon. You have no idea. No clue. I am so excited to talk about that movie because I have loved it forever, even though it's so dumb. Forbidden Planet. Yeah. This is like the whole point of the thing. Like, I want to talk about these things. And so this was the thing when Sick Flicks started. We came to the show and we were going to, like, I had literally been writing about horror movies for 20 years professionally. And we were like, I had all these reviews and I know all these things and I've seen all these movies, and we were going to do a show that was more serious. And I just was like, shit, man, I've done the serious review thing for 20 years. Like, I've already written about all of these movies. And like, if I come out and just have to do that again, I just feel like I'm rehashing all the shit I've already done in my life. Right. And I'm going to get bored and I'm not going to want to do it. And so I'm like, let's do something like Mystery Science Theater. Cause I'm like, I think I can do that. I didn't know if I could do it. You don't know if you can do something like that until you actually try it, because it's hard. It's really hard to write this show, like, because you're constantly like, well, it takes a long time to write because you're one person and you're trying to find all these jokes, and you really got to stop the movie all the time. Like, it would be terrible to watch me script because, like, you got to pause and I got to sit there for 15 minutes and look at the scene and think of what's in it. And like, oh God, what can I make a joke about? What can I comment on? And sometimes it's nothing and you sat there for 15 minutes for nothing. And sometimes you get gold, but and I wasn't sure I was funny enough to do it. And some people will tell you I'm not funny enough to do it, but I think they're wrong. But yeah, I just didn't want to do the same thing that I'd spent my career doing. So we wanted to talk about these movies in the Mystery Science Theater way. And so that's what we did. And then it caught on. And now other guys are still, there are guys who were doing it before me, Brandon Tenhold and Cinema Snob and all that. And there are guys who have come after us who are also doing it. And I'm fine with that. I'm glad. More of us riffing, the better, right? That's more stuff for you to watch. But and I totally lost my train of thought because I'm rambling all over the place. But we came in and you make this show and you don't even know, like, you didn't know if it was going to work. But the thing for me was I just wanted to talk about these movies as I have done for 20 some years and help people discover guys like Giovanni Lombardo Radice or Claudio Fragasso or Bruno Mattei or, Mariangela Giordano or Paul Naschy or like Corman Films. Like, I love this stuff and I just want to share it with people because a lot of people just don't know it. And it's never like, there are a lot of guys in the community who are kind of gatekeepery with this shit, as much as I hate that term. And I'm not that. I love it. I want people to find it. Nothing makes me happier than having one of you guys say to me, hey, I didn't know who John Morgan was until I started watching your videos, and now I'm sad that he's dead because I love the guy. Or I didn't know who John Saxon was. Or, I was not familiar with Claudio Fragasso's work, and now every time I see a fog machine, I think of fucking Claudio Fragasso, and because of you. And like, or, I never saw the half of these movies or knew they existed, and now I love them. And for 20 years, I've had people tell me, like, I didn't know Italian horror was a thing until I started reading your work. And then I started finding these films, and now it's like, I love it. I can't get enough of it. And it's because of you. And that's all I really care about. So yeah. And that's why I do the show. Like, I certainly am not getting rich off of it. I'm lucky to break even most weeks, but yeah. Oh no, Mystery Science, you can't aim higher than Mystery Science Theater. Those guys are the absolute fucking progenitors of this space. You may not like them, but they are the kings. Like, you cannot like them, Rick, but at the end of the day, they're fucking legends, and there's a reason. Like, those guys are very good at what they do, way better than I am. But yeah. Chuck, yeah. So Italian schlock is more known here than it used to be, and I'm not saying that's because of me, although there is certainly part of it that was because of me. Because back in the early, like before the DVD era really took off, you had a really hard time finding Argento films or Fulci films or any of that here. And if you did find them, they were cut. So like Tenebrae was released here as like Unsane on VHS, and it was cut by like 15 minutes. So it made no fucking sense. And The Beyond was like The Seven Doors of Death, and it was directed by Lewis Fuller, and it was chopped to hell. And so then when the 2000s came, the DVD finally took off. There was a really big influx of both Hong Kong action cinema and Euro horror. And so it was like the Wild West time of that, because there were all these movies being brought over that a lot of people just didn't know. And so, you had guys like me, and you had a bunch of other critics of that era, and you had like Chaz Balin and Joe Bob and all that, who did know about it. And so we were suddenly like, sort of like your curators for this shit, like we would help people find it, and then they came to love it. But yeah, back before then, it was pretty much a very niche thing here, the Euro horror. Like, I mean, beyond Hammer had a presence, but like the Italian stuff, not so much. Like, they would always try to repackage it as American here, and then you'd run it and you'd be like, what the fuck is this? It doesn't even make sense because it was all cut. But now it's way more well known here, and I'm actually really happy about that, because you have a whole new generation of film critics kind of writing about this stuff. We got to like, there's a bunch of them doing extras, like Rachel Nisbet does lots of stuff on Giallo films, and Alexandra Heller Nicholas, I think her name is, does lots of Argento and all that, and they're super smart, and they have interesting things to say, and I'm super happy that now this generation, really, there's more of an appreciation for that stuff here than there used to be. So, goodness, I'm long tonight. Amy, see, yeah, I didn't know anything about these types of movies until I'm subscribed to this channel. I'm glad I did. Well, I'm so glad. This is my gift to the world. I've given you all trash cinema. So yeah. All right, let me see what I got down here. My wife didn't even last 1 minute for Last House on Dead End Street. Yeah. That's a tough one. Co-Rocker, I haven't done Hobo yet. I just earlier I mentioned that that's on the list for this year. I think we're gonna do it. I don't even know what genre I'd group that in. I love it though. I want popcorn now. Yeah, Rachel is a great voice for this stuff. She does amazing work. I'm always blown away by her stuff, and she does a lot of work. She's like writing about a lot of these movies in a very smart way. Yeah, torrenting did help, I'm sure. Yeah, and that helped too, because again, the films were finally available. Like when this stuff started hitting DVD, it was like life changing, because shit, man, I was having to go to the ends of the earth to get copies of uncut Argento off of like guys who had Japanese Laserdisc versions. Like you'd get a copy on VHS of a Japanese Laserdisc with Japanese subs, and that was your way to see Tenebrae uncut or Suspiria the full version, or back in the day. So finally getting that shit on DVD meant that people could seed it, meant that you had torrents going, and it just made it way more accessible. So, and Shudder has been good. Tubi is great. Like Tubi is like a horror film school education waiting to happen. You could go like find a lot of good stuff there if you were new to the genre, to kind of start your horror education. So anyway, guys, I have gone way long and my voice is giving out, but thank you all as always for hanging out with me tonight. I'm happy you guys came by as always. I appreciate all the super chats and stickers and all the conversation. As always, I do this because of you guys. This is my longest live stream ever, I think. But yeah, I appreciate you guys to death. I literally do this for you. That you guys show up and watch makes all of this possible. And I love you guys. So I appreciate it, and have a good night. And I will see you guys Wednesday, and we'll have another chat next month, I would imagine. And yeah, come to Vegas. Hey, if they'll have me, I'll come. All right, guys, I'm gonna go. Have a good night, be safe, and go watch something good. All right, take care.